What time is it?
Dr. Mary is not here.
Need one more commissioner, too. So Paul's here, right?
Let's go. Other side of.
Oh, there he is. How you doing, Paul? You guys ready? All right, it's 5:01. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order, a special joint meeting of the Escambia County Board of County Commissioners and the Escambia County School Board. Special meeting, November 2nd, 2021, 5:01 p.m. It's 5:01 p.m. And obviously the subject of this meeting is it's the second joint meeting to establish our boundaries after the decennial census. So without further ado, of course, I'm chairing the meeting tonight. Chairman Bender from the Board of County Commissioners could not be here, although he will be joining us via FaceTime or Teams or Zoom. And right now, is he on the line? Robert? Hey, Lumen. Robert, can you hear me now? Hey, welcome. Okay, so we're going to go through, and then when it, of course, on the agenda, there's some comments from Commissioner Bender, who's the chairman, but since he's not here, but we'll go ahead and follow that in order. But without further ado, the first thing we're going to do this evening is we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, and I would ask my counterpart from the School Board District 1, Kevin Adams, to lead us, please. To the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and again, it's our pleasure to welcome our counterparts from the Escambia County School Board. I see Patty Hightower here. I see Paul Fetzko has joined us. We've got Bill Slayton, the chairman of the board, and we've got Dr. Edler this evening. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for coming. And we're going to start out, and we're going to go right down the line. Delana, do we have proof of publication? Was the meeting properly advertised?
Mr. Vice Chairman, this meeting was advertised in the Escambia Sun Press on October 28, 2021 in the board's weekly meeting schedule.
In the Escambia Sun Press? Yes, sir. Good job. Good job. Very good. More on that on Thursday. Okay, so we're going to start out and we're going to go right down the line. And so to start, we will have comments from Robert Bender, the chairman of the Board of County Commissioners. Robert, you are recognized.
Thank you, Commissioner Burgash. Thank you, board. Of course, sorry I cannot be there tonight, but I know we'll work diligently to get this done tonight. Commissioner Burgash, thank you for stepping in at the end there and late notice and doing this. Going ahead and getting your feet wet for what's going to happen in 2 weeks. But anyway, just as listen, I thought we all did a great job in the last meeting, and so I just want to, before we get started, I do want to just say I do have some minor tweaks to my map that I've worked on late this afternoon, and it's really just to clean up the lines a little bit between what the city's proposing for some of their precincts and things like that. David Stafford has that. I am not able to forward that at this time, but it's really just along some of the southwest Pensacola, right where 2 and 3 meet. I think there's 3 or 4 blocks where it was an unincorporated area was in District 3, and then the rest of the precinct would have been in city limits or something like that. And then also in Precinct 72, which is Carpenter Creek area between 9th and Fairfield. And then there's also another little area that a proposed district map has brought down a little bit. And so we're looking at the split of where those precincts are, and then also where the city-county line comes in south of Davis. So it would it would push me towards the upper limits. It would put me at 4.92% over, or just at 4.92% over. If the board was not comfortable with that, we could leave 72 as is, which is already a split district, which I would lose about 500 votes there, 500 constituents, residents, and so we could look at that. But I felt that the board seemed to be fairly consistent in their decisions regarding the boundary, at least with 4 and 5, and bringing 88 in. Of course, haven't heard any feedback from Commissioner May on the proposal of bringing his line east to Davis. So it would have to be contingent on that. And then also, again, so the rest of that is mostly with his border there, and look for his thoughts on that. But David, if you're able to pass that out, and I would say overall the boards, I think, were somewhat in congruence. All the options were pretty similar in those, so hopefully we can look at those and maybe knock those out of the way. So I will be here, and I'll be taking notes and paying attention. And thank you so much, Commissioner Bergosh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner May.
Can he expound Robert, can you tell me, push it east towards Davis? Can you show me that?
Well, Commissioner May, if I might, what I'd like to do is go ahead and follow the agenda, and then his map is first up. And
Okay,
so-
yeah, 'cause he said he hadn't talked to me. I don't understand what he was saying.
And so when he's first up with his map, I assume he's going to put this this amended map in its place. So,
Okay, well, that's fine.
and at that point, we'll take.
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
over here.
Oh, yeah.
Just to be clear, we don't have handouts, but we can.
You put it on the screen.
We have it on the screen.
Perfect.
If you all can see the screen from
Yep.
where you are.
And so when we get to his part, we'll just put his latest and greatest map up, and we'll take it from there. Bill Slayton, you're recognized. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Pull that down.
Mr. Bergosh,
Yeah. Oh, you got to hit the button.
I have to hit the button.
Hit the button. There you go.
It's very, very good. It's quite an educational process. It even says speak. So I appreciate that.
We try to be efficient here.
Yes, and I would like to first of all thank the chairman, County Commissioner Chairman, Mr. Bender, for hosting us, even though he's hosting us from his recliner. But we're sorry you can't be here, but did an excellent job the last time. And Commissioner Bergosh, thank you for stepping in.
Absolutely.
And recognizing that all 5 of the school board members here. I would just take a second to say, I would also like to recognize that Dr. Tim Smith, our superintendent, is present and observing. This is his first time to go through this, and we appreciate him being here. And also, the school board attorney, Ms. Ellen Odom, is here, and we appreciate her being with us. And we appreciate the commissioners hosting this meeting. It works out wonderful for us. So we definitely do. We're anxious to get started, to work together to get this process over for our constituents and try to make it an easy transition. So thank you very much for this opportunity. And as we always should, let's get down to business.
Absolutely. Yes, sir, Mr. Slayton. Well, thanks again for being here. And so we're going to be very efficient and go right through. And without further ado, Commissioner Bender, you are back up because your map is up first. And so, Mr. Stafford, if you could put that up, and then we'll let Commissioner Bender. Now, it's going to be kind of tricky, Robert, because once we put your map up, we're not going to see you. So if you could turn up your volume, you were a little bit hard to hear. You could turn up your volume, and then we'll try and muddle through this as best we can. And you want to just go through your changes on your map?
That would be great. Do I need to speak louder? Is that?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I mean, if you could turn up the volume a bit, a couple cranks, that'd be good.
Okay. I don't know if that's in our board chambers, but I'll just try to speak up.
Speak up.
Okay. Sorry, I'm having a little technical difficulties. I'm trying to pull up my map here, so into that. So this was the map, and I think I'll just start off the way we started off last time with Commissioner Berry's suggestion of bringing precinct 88 into District 4. This would bring District 5 into compliance. It makes a solid boundary at 9 Mile and cleans that up. I think if the board doesn't have any objection, I would. I like that change. Lumen, Commissioner May, the area that I was just speaking about of extending a small portion of the area south of Olive between the interstate east to Davis. Chris, if you can just point that out on the map. It was just a little bit north of that. To the right.
To the east.
Yep.
There.
Right there. Yes. So that was the portion that I proposed that we give to District 3. This would just bring the numbers into compliance.
What street is that, Chris? I just can't see it from the map. Oh, thank you.
So that is Olive Road to the north, Davis Highway to the east, and I-10 to the south. So right now our border is at Carpenter Creek. You can see that yellow line is the current boundary. And then moving on, Chris, we'll go down to the, I don't know if you're able to pull up the PDF that you had sent me or bring it up on this map, but so this little blue area right where his mouse was are the changes that we made this afternoon to look at the 64 extending south a little bit. So 64, that blue little area right there was where 64 did extend and just making it a clean cut at the precinct line. And then also the southwest corner there where south of Brent, it would is an unincorporated area of Escambia County. So the line would follow the city-county border at that point. The other option is to have 72, which is just adjacent to that, come into District 4. That is currently a split precinct, with Carpenter Creek being the boundary line on that. So with these proposed changes, as we said, it would push District 4 at the upper boundaries of a 4.92% overage. If we left precinct 72 the way it is, we would 500 voters or so would go back to District 3. I believe that's really the only, at least along my border of 3 that we were looking to change. I think the board in general, as I said, had consensus on that. So I don't know if we want to try to check this off as we go through it.
Commissioner?
Yes, sir.
It's, if I may, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please, you're
The
recognized.
other area that I don't think had been shown is right where the mouse is now. That area that is circled, and I think it was probably just an oversight, that was left out. So that area would have basically been an island of unincorporated. And so what that does is it just follows the city line, the city boundary. So it would just basically move what was under the proposal from last time, move the boundary of District 2 east about 2 blocks and north, just basically take that area where Chris is circling. What this is based on, if I could,
Yes, please.
Mr. Bender was talking about precincts, and precincts are a factor, but this is based on district lines. The city is in the midst of their redistricting, and their current proposal, what Mr. Bender asked me to do is lay their current proposal on top of what the proposal coming out of, but I guess they were consistent, Mr. Burgash's and Mr. Bender's proposal from last time, as it related to where the city-county lines existed, and see if there were areas where it was going to pose a problem. In other words, you would have a small area that would be unique, which is what you don't want generally, because you would have a very small portion of, it would either be a precinct of 100 people, or you would have a part of a precinct of 100 people that would be voting in a different district. And so what the ideas that were put forward would clean some of that up, if you will. And so what that does right there is it basically takes that unincorporated island and makes it part of District 2, rather than being part of District 3 as a sort of an island of unincorporated. So what this does is it matches up a little bit more closely with the current proposal. And again, I want to stress that it's a current proposal.
Sure.
From the city commission, the city redistricting commission.
Let me ask you, what does that do in terms of the numbers compared to what it was before? Does it add to 3 or does it add to 2?
So it does a little bit of both. It adds a little bit, a minuscule amount, a small amount in that area. That's all that's added to 2. Okay. And then the part that we were focused on earlier, up around precinct 72 and 98, where those intersect, that's a more substantial number that would move from District 3 into District 4, which elevates Commissioner Bender's total population up, where it's closing in on that 5% threshold.
Okay. Commissioner May, do you have any thoughts on that, or do you want to just move forward and hear some?
So when you look at precinct 98 and 72, Stafford, in terms of the demographics, how does that change?
So if you'll look, Commissioner, up at the top, your District 3 is up there at the top. So you would still maintain, that precinct would still maintain a majority minority. Again, you want to add those columns to the right as
Right,
well.
yeah.
So even if you excluded those columns, you're still at a majority minority.
Right, yeah, I'm not going to, for my conversation, I'm not going to add those columns, but did we lose any minority? So candidly, did we lose any African-American votes with that proposal?
With these changes, give me 1 second. We have you have the old numbers? Yeah. So let us do this, if you would. Let us pull up the map as it existed before these changes.
Right.
And then we can look.
Commissioner Burgash, as he's doing that.
Yes.
I just would like to say that the proposed city maps were not available when we last met.
Sure.
And so that's the impetus behind these changes, is just try to clean it up.
I think with this map, you can clearly see the yellow line coming through where it, yeah, I can see it. But I'm concerned, like Commissioner May is, about the numbers and what that does to his, it's very important that we make.
So this was the proposal, is this the existing, or was this which proposal is this? So this was option 1. This was, I think,
Essentially the same as option 1.
which is basically in this area, Mr. Burgash and Mr. Bender's, I think we're pretty closely aligned. And so if you look at the top, if you're looking at African American, it is just under 500 above African American over white. So it's that's 471. My University of Florida math.
As it stands now, it's 471.
So the proposal coming into today, and if you now if you go back and look at the amended map. Sorry, it's a little clunky, but
Okay, so that was what we just looked at, was Robert's proposal from the last meeting
correct, yes, sir.
that he wanted, and now what we're looking at now is his revision of that proposal with these.
And it is, it's actually higher, Commissioner, with those changes. It went from 476 to almost 800.
Let me ask you, if I might, so we're going to look at various maps. These sorts of changes that have generated those increases, if we built from a different map, we could add those back in and get those same
That's
numbers.
correct.
Yeah, so Lumen, we can look at other proposals, and then we'll just remember these, and if you want them.
Yeah,
add
yeah,
it back in.
and Jeff, I'm not adverse, and let's look at all the proposals. I mean, our target number is, 1,000, and so we're gonna, at the end of the day, to find my support, it's gonna be, that 800 number will be somewhere around 1,000.
Right on.
But I think we could work that out.
Okay, very good. Yeah, because it seems to me, Robert, District 5, of course, I would never presume to speak for my colleagues, but it looked like it was like a pretty basic change, and they were set. So really, where the rubber meets the road now is 3, 2, and 1. And so, Robert, is there anything else you want to add before we move through the agenda?
No, that was it for mine. The other changes, I didn't have any changes to what had been proposed. Of course, the rest of the map where we move District 2 up to Garden Street, some of the Myrtle Grove area going to District 3 would stay the same. So those were the only changes as described to the map as presented.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Mann.
Because we have Commissioner Bender, Chairman Bender on. Robert, in trying to get the achieved goal, and I think my colleague from the school board would probably share my sentiments in trying to reach that number from 800 to 1,000. As we have this discussion, I would hope that on 12th Avenue to 18th and kind of Bars to the north and Fisher to the south, seems like it would be more in line to be contiguous with your district than District 3. It's not a large geographical area, but I think that there is another option that gets us to the equality number that we have without any adverse effect to your district. So as we're going through the discussion, I would ask you to look at some consideration on 12th to 18th on Bars to the north and Fisher to the south.
Are you there?
Yes, sir. Yep.
And it doesn't have to be an answer now because I know there are other proposals. And Mr. Chairman, what I'm saying is, you give, you take, you give, you take to get to where we need to be. And so I think that this is still fluid.
Absolutely.
But I did want to offer that, Commissioner Bender, in line with trying to get to your desired goal of where you want to be. I certainly want to be supportive of each of my colleagues on these lines and keeping in mind how critical it is to achieve the majority numbers that are important to the district that I represent.
Yes, sir. I'm trying to pull it up real quick.
Yeah, and you can just study it and come back at the end. I mean, we're not voting. I mean, I think there are other proposals. And so just if you would just take that into consideration before the final vote.
All right, so Commissioner Bender, while you work on that, does anyone else on the dais have any questions or comments or concerns about what Commissioner Bender has put forward for his proposal? Commissioner Underhill, I see your light on. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Commissioner Bender, in the process of creating what we have in front of us, how much consideration was given to what we know to be the growth patterns? Because the decisions that we make this year, of course, we are stuck with for 10 years. Not necessarily 100% stuck with, but we can reasonably assume that those will be the lines for 10 years. And knowing what we know about the rooftops that have been permitted in the county, how much of that was taken into consideration as you put this together?
Commissioner Underhill, I don't know if you recall, but I asked that question during the committee of the whole, and we are not supposed to take that into consideration. We're looking at a snapshot in time. So I did not consider that with the proposal.
Okay.
I think it does work out that, of course, in this proposal, it looks like District 2 is a little on the light side. And of course, I think as it was presented during the meeting, we I had proposed that 3, 4, and 5 get worked out, and then, District 1 and 2 could split how they felt was the best way. But in this, it seems like you could each stand to gain or lose some and still be within. But no, I did not look at future growth as the comment was made during our committee of the whole.
Okay, so you'd mentioned that we weren't supposed to look at that. Is that Mr. Stafford, is that a rule, or is that?
I would defer to council on that.
Great answer, David, by the way. Allison,
If
can you
so,
answer that?
whose rule is that?
Yeah, I would say that the decennial census is what you really do need to be relying on at this point. That is going to be considered your defensible database at this point. It is not beyond the realm of things that could happen if there is a significant occurrence that happens between now and the next census, and you've got a what we feel like is a defensible database, like maybe not something where we think, hey, permits might get pulled or things might get built, but if we have a defensible database that shows a significant shift in between, it is legally possible for you all to redistrict again in an odd-numbered year before the next census. But you need something tangible and defensible and concrete, and the decennial census is always going to be a defensible database.
Well, clearly that's the most defensible, but I mean, we can use that as a starting point, and we can look at just what has been already permitted in the county to be built, and at least consider the fact that this decision does, kind of stick with us for a while.
I wouldn't recommend going outside the boundaries of what you've been given, which is your decennial census.
Understood. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Yes,
Madam-
absolutely.
Madam Council, who makes that decision on a decennial census that allows for us to go back and redistrict after we set these boundaries? Is that legislative, or is
So
that?
you have a statutory and a Florida constitutional obligation to redistrict following each decennial census in an odd-numbered year. That's an obligation that already rests on you through the Florida Constitution and your state statutes. There is enough leeway if things get out of whack in between, because you're losing the one person, one vote representation, because there is for some reason there's a noticeable shift, and there's a database of information that shows that has happened. It's possible that you could redistrict again before your next decennial census. At this point, you've got the census in front of you. This is current data. We know what you're supposed to rely on. I wouldn't recommend going outside the boundaries of this.
Absolutely.
For purposes of this redistricting.
And I recognize and respect and support that. I guess my question was a direct question. Who would make that decision that we would?
You all. Redistricting rests with the board.
The Board of County
The
Commissioners?
Board of County Commissioners,
Okay.
yes.
right.
But of course, your decision has to be defensible under the Voting Rights Act and that sort of thing. So what you do has to be defensible for
Understood.
one person, one vote.
Thank you, Madam Council.
Okay, Commissioner May, just for my counterparts on the school board, if you want to be recognized, just button so I can see. Patty, you would lean forward. Are you? Okay. All right. So with that, Robert, we're going to move on in the agenda. We can always, of course, come back. Before we do, though, Mr. Stafford and Mr. Heaney, can you please pan that out? Because I just want to make sure that I clarify for the record, my counterpart from the school board, Kevin Adams, and myself, as well as Vicki Campbell, what Commissioner Bender landed on, even more, so we could see the whole thing, if you could. Can you pan out? And just move it up so we could see the southern part. Okay, so, now I still, yeah. Okay, now just hand move it up, okay. Okay, so that's, are we looking at Robert's proposal here?
Yeah, and I don't know if everybody knows that they actually have a copy in front of them.
Sure. Anyway, okay, so this was Robert's proposal. I don't remember it looking that way, but,
No, sir. If I may, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Mr. Vice Chair, this is a hybrid map, actually, as we came up this afternoon with the Commissioner Bender's ideas. It was placed on the option 2 map, and that was inadvertent, but so this is a hybrid between the latest proposal and the option 2 map from the last meeting.
Okay, and the option 2 map was the one, okay, so just to be very clear, so what this is here is the addition of Commissioner Bender's ideas for his district and Lumen's district added to the map that Kevin and I
Correct.
put together. Okay, just want to know where we're at because it looked a little bit different. Now, the next, going forward, guys, school board member Fetzko came up with his own proposal, and I watched the school board meeting, and what you're looking at here that school board member Adams and I put together actually is a hybrid with incorporating most of what Paul Fetzko put together, and so I think it would flow much more smoothly if we jump Kevin Adams and my proposal and go and recognize Paul Fetzko to yeah, there's a few differences there. So without objection, I'm going to go ahead and recognize Paul Fetzko to present his District 2 map, and then we'll come back to Kevin's and my proposal, which is a compromise between what he's proposed and what Paul Fetzko proposed. So, Mr. Fetzko, you're recognized.
I am ready. For some strange reason, after the first joint meeting, and what was said during that meeting was looking for major roads as boundaries that would make sense and what historically had been. And for the majority of my career with the school district, I was a special ed person and drove through the county every single day, from the beach to Century. And so the major roads that I saw and some of the things that were said, I did not run this by Commissioner Underhill. He and I have not spoken about it. This is contrary to what was spoken about when we met, but I was only going by what was said in this meeting during that time. And it had to deal with looking at the populations, having about 64,000 in each district, and then using major arteries to do that. Now, and the historically what had been a part of whatever. In my way of thinking, when I looked at it, I said, well, if you use the western boundary for District 2 as Blue Angel Parkway, and you go up to where it abuts the Mobile Highway, and then use Mobile Highway coming down as an eastern side, that cleared out or made a district of about 64,000, and it kept it compact. It put Bellevue, which had always been or historically been a part of District 2 as far as schools were concerned, okay? Now, I have more caveats than Ms. Odom at this point, more disclaimers. I do not know the intricacies. I do not know the operating necessities or other things that the Board of County Commissioners faces. I'm looking strictly from the school districts and what would make sense as far as that. I also stated in the first meeting, and I'll state again, what happens with the voting districts has no impact on the daily operation of schools within the county. The school attendance zones that make up where a child lives and resides and what school they then would be assigned to has nothing to do with these districts that are being spoken about tonight, nor the previous meeting, okay? And regardless of what is decided by the Board of County Commissioners with voting district lines, it won't change a thing that we do within the school district where kids will live and attend schools. So my naiveness about drawing some lines, I apologize for, but it was an erstwhile effort to say, hey, does this make sense for discussion, okay? So Blue Angel North and South and east on the eastern side would go up to Mobile Highway and encompass Bellevue back into District 2. That also would make Myrtle Grove whole again, which has been a long-standing conundrum that why on 65th Avenue, which is this the street that Escambia High resides on. If you're on the east side, you're in District 2, but across the street from Escambia High, you're in District 1. And those kind of differences or distinctions was the one thing that I was looking at doing from a it makes sense kind of a viewpoint. I provided this, or I showed this to people saying, hey, when I did this with the changes that were done with District 3 and 4 and 5 previously, it made sense as far as the numbers, because everyone came up except for District 1 was a little bit lower, but in that last meeting, it was repeatedly said, there's so much growth going on in District 1 in the Beulah area that will be taken care of in the very near future. So I didn't worry about them being exactly at 64,000, but from what I had played around with and put down, not realizing that it could have major ramifications or cause heartburn or distress, I did provide that. You could look at it, you could say yay, nay, throw it away. I'm good with that. But I did say, you know, if we really are looking at major arteries where somebody could say, oh, I live on the west side of Blue Angel Parkway, I'm in this district. I live on the east side, I'm in this district. I live on the west side of Mobile Highway, I'm in, it makes sense. Does that mean that it is the right thing to do or whatever? That's up to the Board of County Commissioners to negotiate and to work on. But it was a proposal that I made sincerely and don't mean to step on anyone's toes. I also did not take into account, nor would I ever, because I don't know this. I don't know where people live, okay? There were some comments that were made after I did this with Chris, and it said, well, so-and-so is thinking about running for thus and such, and they live there. I have no idea. The only two people I know three. I know where Dr. Edler lives because she told me. I know where Kevin Adams lives because I've had to help him with some situations. And I know where Patty lives. I know that Bill lives in Cantonment, but other than that, I have no idea where people live. And so I wasn't looking at anything to say, you know, you're putting my house in a different district. I'm not trying to do that. So I apologize in advance if I've offended anybody. But from a number standpoint and from a geography standpoint and roadways, it makes some sense.
Thank you, Mr. Fetzko.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Kevin, you're recognized, and then Doug.
Paul, I do want to make it for the record, you came to my house before you became a school board member, okay? So, just for the record, so he.
Yeah, now that I've gotten to know you, Kevin, I wouldn't go to your house, but.
There you go. Paul, I'm going to tell you, I did like it when I first looked at it at our school board meeting. I like how you used the lines. After the meeting was over, we did notice one issue. Precinct 63, which is a majority-minority precinct. I think you probably included in your map just for, it's right there. I think you included it in the map just because it made it look good, but that would not work for District 3's majority-minority numbers. So that's
And Kevin, to add some insight, I was in with the supervisor. You could take a portion of 53 and not all of it.
It's 63.
63, I mean, that's right. Isn't that what we pulled yesterday, Chris? Did we
Yeah.
pull some at 63?
Yeah.
But we could pull some,
Yeah.
not the entire one.
But
but we could-
anyway, because that would take your numbers
Number down, yeah, but
You're
there's a
not gonna
portion
get
of
to
it,
1,000.
Jeff, that we could pull that helps our number, but not all of it, you're absolutely
Okay.
right.
So anyway, with that, Paul, in doing that, can we bring up? Yeah, sure. Could you bring up the District 1 proposal?
Yeah. And then, if you could, can you do it without too much, or you have it in your packet in front of you, if you could go to,
Yeah.
just go one page
Yeah,
back.
you go one page over,
Because
whichever way
I
you
think
want to do
what,
it.
Kevin, I think what you were saying was, this is kind of like the hybrid between what?
Yeah, it's a hybrid. So what I worked on, Paul, was coming with a kind of a hybrid of yours, bringing 63 back into District 3. And so our proposal coming up, it'll keep 63 in District 3 as a majority-minority precinct. It keeps District 1 library in District 1. It keeps the District 2 library in District 2. It keeps Bellevue Middle and Bellevue Elementary Schools in District 1, and it keeps the New Pleasant Grove in your District 2, and it keeps the boundaries to the primary and secondary roads like we want it to, and it transfers those D1, District 1 precincts in Myrtle Grove to you, so it consolidates Myrtle Grove. So anyway, we just try to use yours knowing the numbers change with 63 coming out.
If 63 was done at any point, it was inadvertent, because we were not dealing with anything in District
we
3
thought.
when Chris and I met.
We thought that.
So, you know,
But Paul, you know what I liked about your map, Paul, is that you came out of the gate and it was apolitical. It was totally apolitical. You don't know where people live. You went with the lines and the numbers worked. So that's why Kevin and I we switched our map significantly to match some of the
Try to
lines.
match yours closely.
Yeah, that you've put in. So, Kevin, did you want to say anything else for us?
No,
Okay.
that's good. I just want to let Paul know that.
All right, I'm going to recognize Doug. You're recognized. I think you've passed out something as well.
Done, I need that back.
Yeah, the map that I passed out was the discussion that Paul and I had previously, it's kind of noteworthy. We're talking about roads as dividing lines. We're talking about locations of libraries, and what I think we should at least be talking about is the residences of those of us in office or those who may run for office. That certainly should be the least of our concerns as we look at this. But what should be greatest among our concerns is the continuity of neighborhoods. I think that the Brownsville story is one that really demonstrates what a bad idea it is to divide a neighborhood across two districts because there's a major thoroughfare that runs through it. Now, Commissioner May and I have worked very hard to try to bridge that gap. What started off as a political division of where that road is now is literally a concrete fence that divides that community in half. So I think that there's a great deal to be said for looking at where our communities are and holding those communities together as best that we can in their representation. And Paul, I think that you took a lot of time to make very clear that when a kid shows up in an Escambia County school, nobody cares where he lives. Nobody cares what the color of his skin is. Nobody cares what his socioeconomic class is. You and the school board and all of the employees of the school are there to teach that kid. And I think that you took a lot of time to make that point, and I think that was very well said on your part. However, the reason I think this is important for that we look at the schools is because the school, especially for young families, that is the political division that matters most. Very few people can tell you, except on election year, can tell you what precinct they live in, but they can darn sure tell you which elementary school and middle school the kids in that neighborhood go to. Okay? And the more representation that a parent feels like they have, I think that is a driving factor to the amount of volunteerism and activism that you have of the parents in the school. We've seen a trend over the last 20 years of doing away with small neighborhood schools and building these larger schools, and I think that history will judge us very sternly on that. Those large schools and closing down those community schools, while at the same time lamenting the decrease in volunteerism, it doesn't take, I think, as we look at it in retrospect, we will see a cause and effect relationship there. So I think that it's very important that we keep those communities together in their representation, because it is going to be one of the driving factors in volunteerism and activism. And we're all, of course, very familiar with the general consensus that schools in which there's a lot of parental activism and parental volunteerism, those are the schools where not just the kids of those parents that volunteer, in fact, those kids would probably prefer their parents weren't there as much, but all of the kids are benefiting from that volunteerism. So for that reason, I think that we should be very cognizant of where our neighborhoods are. One precinct of Myrtle Grove has always been in it, for the last 10 years has been in a different district. And it's interesting because those citizens on election day, they go thinking that there's going to be a particular name on the ballot, and they find that that name's not on their ballot. Because every other day of their life, Myrtle Grove is one community. every other day of their life, Brownsville is one community. So the smarter play is to continue to try to drive on a neighborhood basis that unity. So for that reason, pulling out what is the traditional southwest sector and splitting that in two with the plan that's on the screen now is exactly the opposite of what would need to be done to drive that home. The southwest sector has equities that are very distinctly different from Beulah's equities. Beulah has equities that are very, very different than Perdido Key and the greater Perdido area and the traditional west side. If you water down those, and you have one commissioner who is responsible for both of those equities, then you actually disenfranchise both Beulah and Perdido. And I think it's very important to keep that in mind as we have this discussion, because there is a growing discussion about those towns, those communities becoming cities themselves, or towns themselves through the incorporation process. And that would be certainly detrimental to the county as a whole. But there's a growing voice in Beulah and in Perdido that may be the only way to secure the equities of those communities. So I would ask that the commission very strongly oppose splitting the southwest sector, and in fact going ahead and making the southwest sector more unified by pulling everything south of 98 into District 2, which would make a whole lot more sense, considering the fact that most of those folks south of 98 have wonder why, quite frankly. When you look at how close they are to Perdido's equities and how the Perdido area equities are important to them, whereas the Beulah equities, while certainly important, are not the ones that are important to the people of the greater Perdido area. So the plan that's on the map on the screen today is one that I think will have some very negative consequences for our communities, particularly for our traditional communities of Myrtle Grove, the traditional west side, certainly for Perdido and certainly for Beulah. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Thank you,
Hey,
Doug.
Jeff, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
As we sit now, 63 is in District 3, correct?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Precinct 63 is.
Absolutely.
And so no one was proposing taking that out on Paul's proposal, correct?
Not on purpose. No, it was an accident. We put it back. Commissioner Underhill, so I see that you've brought something here, but number one, you've left District 1 nearly 2,300, 2,400 votes shy of the bare minimum. That's the first problem with your map. There's numerous problems with it, so far as I could tell. Another large problem is you've left Precinct 99 in my district, and that's part of Myrtle Grove that Paul puts back together. And you've also left the southern portion of Myrtle Grove out as well, off of Lillian. So I don't understand the logic. The other thing that this does, which makes it an absolute non-starter, and we discussed this at the last meeting, you weren't here, but I'm not going to vote to knock Vicki Campbell out of her seat, which this would do. She was elected less than a year ago. That would leave her over 3 years, and it would disenfranchise all those voters that voted. Now, like a stop clock, you're right occasionally. And when you said we shouldn't split communities, you're right. 20 years ago, they did. They cut right through Perdido Bay Country Club. It was gerrymandered. They took Perdido Key out of District 1. They cut Perdido in half. They jigsawed West Pensacola and Myrtle Grove. I think Paul's proposal does a very admirable job of putting that back together. And that's why we took that as a starting point. And we made it, I think, even better. And to your point about equities throughout different parts of the county, I mean, you could make that argument in just about any district, go from one end to the other. So I would simply say I appreciate you bringing this. I don't know that you'll have any support for it because of those facts. I mean, you leave me with 58,000. We're supposed to have 64. You knock Vicki Campbell out of her seat. One of the other things we talked about, and we talked about it very importantly, Kevin Adams in the school board, he likes to have Blue Angels. He likes to have Helen Caro. He likes to have Jim Billy. You take all three of those schools out of his district. I know it doesn't matter, board member Fetzko, but to my counterpart to the right, that's very important. And there's just multiple problems with this map. So I appreciate you bringing it. I wish you would have been here at the last meeting. I just don't think this goes anywhere at all.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. The point behind the map is showing and first of all, I mean, you mentioned Vicky, obviously, Vicky's political equities or her political prowess in District 2 are actually much stronger than they are in District 1. So, the idea, well, certainly I don't think we should be talking about those of us who are temporary residents in these chairs in a decision that's actually about the next 10 years. It's not something that I think we should even be discussing as a matter of this, because communities are more important than those of us who temporarily represent them. But in Vicky's case, she'd certainly be in good stead for her continued political career. The numbers, I had my staff take a look at what is where those communities and equities lie. Now, adjusting the numbers, I didn't bother with trying to figure out what the numbers would look like up in your district, because if you actually look at the starting point, the county's not too far off, and it's a very simple matter you can do this with a scalpel with some small steps that follow the development of our communities, or you can do them with very big steps where you're essentially creating a gerrymandering. To take the entire western edge all the way up to Beulah and put that all into one district, is in fact gerrymandering.
No.
And it will. Well, I didn't speak while you had the floor, sir. It is in fact gerrymandering, and it will in fact disenfranchise both Perdido and Beulah, in that the concerns and equities of those two very large and not quite homogeneous. Homogeneous isn't really the right word, but certainly unified areas, those will suffer, and you are going to be pushing toward the incorporation argument by doing so.
Kevin, you're recognized.
Yeah, I stated this publicly. I will not disenfranchise the voters and vote out Vicki Campbell, or whether one of the few elected women that are on boards, or whether it was Ms. Hightower down at the other end there, or Dr. Edler over there. I will not participate in any type of activity like that. So I can only speak for myself. But the voters vote her in. She deserves to finish it out. 10 years from now, somebody might make more changes. But for right now, we did the same thing for District 5. That's why 88 was there for Walker. And I believe Vicki Campbell deserves the same respect.
All right. Okay, so we're going to now, at this point, any other discussion on Paul, on your map? Doug, on your map?
No, thank you.
Okay, good.
Mr. Chairman, if,
Yes.
over here,
Yeah.
if I could, just that area that was under discussion earlier, we've highlighted it here, that's precinct 63, and if you look at on your, the data, the key at the top, that area, that is just that area isolated, so that's 1,300 total population. And then if you move to the right, you see the voting age population numbers.
Yes, and you'll also note, because Kevin and I have run this simulation a couple of times, that drops us below the bare minimum. So we had to add back, and so Paul, those were the modifications that we made. It was population driven. We realized that you were connecting the lines I-10 to Palafox South, but obviously, well, it somehow ended up that way. Be that as it may.
The more it gets said, the more people are going to believe that it was actually planned, but it was not.
Okay.
If that
Well-
happened, it was an accident, and I apologize for it. There was no intent to make that.
Totally understood, and really, it's not a big deal because we caught it, and obviously we knew the numbers were off. So as David Stafford points out, that drops us to 60,602, which is below our minimum threshold. So Kevin and I, this will be a good segue back to our map, if we can bring that one up.
Jeff,
Yes.
sorry, Mr. Vice Chair.
Yeah.
So when we put 63 back into FESCO's map, Stafford, where did that put our numbers? The sum?
You mean when we took it out of FETSCO's map?
Took it out, yeah.
Yeah, and put it back.
And put it back, correct.
Are you looking at if you look at your district right there, that's what if you put it back into your district, that's what it would look like right there.
Yeah, okay. All right. It's good. We still have a little more work to do, Jeff.
Yeah, sure.
but-
And I think, and Commissioner May, if I might, I don't want to be the guy jumping in to your district, but I know that it's important to maintain that minority majority. And there are a couple of precincts that you have that are heavily white that adjoin District 1, and there's at least one precinct or a portion of one that's, and I think between the two of them, you can get, I heard you say the magic number of 1,000 votes. Right. I think if there's a switch that I'm willing to show you, if you're willing to look at it, you and Dr. Edler.
Just show me 1,000, Jeff, and we'll be good to go.
Well, I think you'll be getting, between the 8 you have right now and this additional 8 I can give you, I'll be showing you 1,600. So, but if we could segue into Kevin and I, our map, which is in fact a compromise between what Paul has put forward and what we ended up with after the first meeting. And I think there's some, and it doesn't do anything to District 5. It doesn't really do anything to Roberts District. The only thing it really does is we fixed 63. I don't know, how that happened, but we fixed that. And then if you scroll out, of course, taking 63 from our count, we had to make it up. And we did that a couple of different ways. We took a couple of blocks, Paul, from the little cap going up to the top, up to Godwin and Bellevue, and then we also, which also kept the library. The way you had it, it would have taken the brand new district library out of my district, which, look, is not the consideration. But what we've done here is we've left the District 1 library where it will be, and we've added back, to get the numbers right, we've added back the portion of precinct 67 to follow the lines down to Sorrento, down to Bauer. That keeps your District 2 library, Southwest Branch there. So it balances the libraries, gives you the brand new Pleasant Grove, keeps the 2 schools up in Bellevue in Commissioner Adams' district, but most importantly, then the numbers come out, and we're still on the low end. But I think with thousands and thousands of houses coming in Beulah, I'm not concerned about being on the low end because we do see some growth happening. And I will take the moment to point this out. There was a slide deck sent out to us from FAC, and one of the things they did say that you can look at, and so it's kind of a contradiction at this meeting, they said you can look at future growth patterns. So maybe not necessarily basing your decision on it, but I don't think it's illegal for us to look at it, especially when I look across the street and I see thousands of apartments coming in my district in Beulah. So guys, I'd like to present this as something that can work. And Lumen, if I might, I'd like to show you what I just mentioned, you and Dr. Edler, because I think with a switch, we can get you to a 1,600 vote swing. So we can double where you're at right now. And so, Mr. Stafford, if I might, Paul, do you want to say?
I do, and looking at what you proposed here, one of the things that just jumped out to me, and again, I don't know that I really have a dog in this fight. I'm just here to walk the dogs. There's a section that's to the east of Bauer Road, just north of Sorrento.
Okay.
And it's cut into...
That's the park. That's the state park area.
No.
Where are you looking?
Why would that, if, again, using those major boundaries like Bauer Road...
Are you talking Bauer, or are you talking about dog track? Are you talking about dog track?
Is it dog track?
Yeah. Again, that was an effort to get the numbers balanced, Paul.
We had to get over 5%.
We had to, and we barely got back to where we needed to be. But yeah, in your map, you're absolutely right. You had the boundary as Blue Angel, and it still is the boundary north of dog track. But south of dog track, we needed those numbers to make it work.
To get in the 5% range.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a question.
Carve out there.
Yeah. But you'll notice if you go north, scroll down, every other aspect of your map, we love that idea. Keep Blue Angel as a boundary. And all of Myrtle Grove, including 99, Doug, stays in District 2. Because I do remember as Commissioner Underhill left, he said he wanted Myrtle Grove back together, and he felt like Mayfair should go. 2 of those things we got accomplished at the last meeting, and we've incorporated that in the map in the spirit of working. So we're looking at now, I want to go all the way up to the top of my district. I'm going to show Commissioner May something that I think could help he and Dr. Edler. If you look at Precinct 101, that wedge right there, and go all the way over to Fowler Road from the creek part of 28 on the very, I wish I could show you this. See the creek kind of coming up No, over to your left, up. Okay, that little wedge in the corner of 28, north of the interstate there. Click that. Well, let's start something here. I'm going to show, okay, click all of that. And then all of 101 over to Fowler Road. Oh, wait, but you're not assigning it to it. Can you assign it to the dummy precinct so we can show him the numbers? I'm sorry. I should have told you that. That way we can show him. There we go. Because currently, Lumen, this is in your district. Oop, no, we don't want that. We don't want that. Nope, just to the creek, yep. And then up Fowler Road.
We got it.
Okay. No, I think that's Fowler. Is that Fowler Road? Okay. Now,
That's the entirety of precinct 101.
Okay. Now-
Plus a little
Now, what
portion
I'm-
of 28.
what I'm proposing, Lumen, and what I found, and of course, it's totally up to you. It's not going to hurt my feelings one way or the other. But if we take this from you, let's look at the total number of population and then the voting age. It's heavily white. It's a very, very small number of African-American voters in this precinct. I've got a precinct south of Michigan, and we can swap, the numbers are identical, and it will produce a roughly 800 black vote swing between the number of whites that you will lose and the number of blacks that you will gain. So can you scroll over to see the total number? Oh, okay, here we go. So
At this point, just to be clear, what this does is it decrements the district that's high, that it currently is. So it decrements District 3.
Okay.
So that would, if it was assigned, it does not increment your district until we assign it. So that 3,400 would be added to District 1's numbers.
Yeah, and so-
But District 3, after assignment, would be as it's listed right now.
So the numbers to keep an eye on are 3413. That's the total number. The total voting age population is 2805, and then the white. I mean, that's a high percentage of white, 2,028, and then the African American is 461. So if we keep those numbers in mind, if you lose that precinct, you lose a lot of white voters, only a few African Americans. Now I'm going to show you another precinct in our district that we can swap, where you could complete the swing. So can we move down to Michigan Avenue and that portion of precinct 62, south of Michigan, over to the creek?
Commissioner,
I like that a little bit, yeah.
do you want us to go ahead and assign that?
No,
for the
I don't want to
purpose
do.
of- Okay.
I want to look at numbers, and I want
Because-
Dr. Edler and I want Lumen May to be comfortable if they want it, if they want to do it.
Okay, so then just to be clear, we're going to start over.
Yep, because we've written those numbers down
Okay.
from the other one, and we'll be able to. Okay, so if we look at that's the whole thing etched out. So the total number there, 3,491 total. Voting age population, 2,733. But here's where the magic hits. The white population, 1,541, and look at the black population, 783. So you subtract the 1,541 from the 2028, and then you add the difference, and you'll see about an 800. Do you want to explain it in supervisor election speak?
No, I mean, I think it's just math. At that point, it's just math. You're looking at, you'd have to take both sets of data and then. Yeah.
So you
just
see
math.
you see what we're talking about, Lumen?
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to.
Are we splitting 62, Jeff, or are you giving me?
I would take everything north because I did the calculations up north and it becomes a lot more, a lot less beneficial to you if we did anything north of that. But
Well, and Jeff, for the record, I mean, I've won every one of my races at, 80%, 90%. So, I mean, I represent all people, but I just want to keep in line with the minority majority district. So it doesn't bother me,
well, if I might make a suggestion.
Even the parties doesn't matter to me.
Well, yeah, exactly. If I could make a suggestion, if we assign these, if we look at the snapshot of where you were and then assign these and take a look at where you'd be, and then we can always pull it back. But I mean, it's just difficult because the city of Pensacola, a lot of the African-American population has moved out of the city, and so they've dispersed.
Yeah, they've been gentrified.
Well, and it just becomes more difficult to make these lines minority majority. But this is a way where I think it makes sense. I mean, you saw the number of white voters in that precinct up in the wedge.
Oh, yeah. No, Jeff, I want to do that and go back to the number. I mean, you got any sidewalk issues or drainage issues over there? I mean,
Well, no, but I will, I hate to say it, but I'm going to point out, I just found out, here we go again, I just found out this week, this is Houston Avenue is where they want to put the homeless camp, and I didn't know about it. So here's the thing.
Oh, move it from underneath the bridge and move it into county.
Yeah,
That's
believe me.
genius.
Believe me, you watch the news tonight. I told them what's what. No one's called, no one's communicated. I think there was an email that kind of flew last Tuesday, but they haven't contacted Wes. Wes, you weren't, planning and zoning wasn't told about it. So whether or not we do this, I'm going to oppose it. They can't move a city problem out to the county and not communicate with us. So it's not going to happen, not in that location. The parcel's not big enough. I just didn't want to bring this and have you say, think, well, oh yeah, he's going to dump because I wouldn't do that. That's why, full disclosure, I'm telling you, it's happening. But
What is the voting precinct? What's the actual location of 62?
Charity Chapel, I believe, is what it is. Is it Charity Chapel? Charity Chapel. Yeah, Charity Chapel. It's right there in the middle. You could see the. Well, I mean, Commissioner May, again, I don't want to be the guy assigning things. But you want to look at what it would look like if that was done.
Okay. Yep. Let's keep looking. Keep
Okay.
talking. Can we go back to 101 and just look at the numbers again for me? If you do it.
So, sure, yeah.
I will tell you, 101 is a great precinct.
Yep.
Did he do that? Did you assign the other one?
Did not, no.
Yeah, I think you need to, and that way we can show them. That way we can show them what the swing looks like. I mean, it's just temporary. You can pull it back, right? We can pull it back. Sure. Yeah. Well, actually, we lose 100 votes on this, but okay. Mm-hmm. It was. I remember 10 years ago, didn't we give that to Marie Young 10 years ago because she needed numbers? It didn't make sense to me.
What's that you gave Marie? What did you say?
We gave this part to Marie Young 10 years ago because she needed numbers, but I don't, and all the way over to Fowler. Oh, nope, too far. There we go. And so if you assign that, and then what does that look like? Well, you'd be assigning that one to 1. To 1, there we go. Okay, so now what is lumens?
And what was the actual number? Can you pull the actual numbers for 101 on the demographics again, please?
There you go, if you look at 7.
Okay, yeah.
3413 total, 2805 voting age, 2028 white, and 461 black. This is a heavily white area. Well, it looks like I'll be the guy who owns it if this happens, but we're working that right now. Believe me, the TPO, that's a huge, what a mess that is. What a nightmare. See, Lumen, I'd be taking that Pine Forest Road problem off your hands too, by the way. Thank you.
It never ends, long leaf, yeah. Are you taking any landfills with you?
Not unless they're there and we don't know about them.
You never know. Okay.
And it looks Yeah, well, yeah, go ahead and do that, and then we can look at the total. It looks to me like that adds an additional extra 322 voter age population black, and it reduces 487 voter age population white. So, it's an 800 vote swing in the positive. What does that do for his percentage numbers? Can you guys work that up compared to where he is now and what that does?
You're talking about as the districts are drawn right now?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Current?
Or even under our old proposal, our initial proposal. How about what it is right now?
The target number.
Yeah, and what yes.
You're talking about total population?
I'm talking about the percentage of minority voters. What Lumen was talking about earlier, what he's looking at.
I don't know that we have the existing right in front of us. We have the map, so we just have to pull it back up.
Okay, so what I'm looking at here, this data is with those changes put in, correct? Yeah. Okay. So now he has, and we're looking at the voting age population white. Yeah, 21,890, is that what it is? 1,100? So that puts him at 1,100. That's his magic number.
All right. There you go. He left for
Dr. Edler, do you have any thoughts on that? That does leave you over 1,000. I don't disagree, believe me. I guess we'll wait. Commissioner Underhill, you got your light on, yeah?
Yeah, actually, in comments that I was really mostly intended for Commissioner May, I guess I've had the luxury of a life that everybody in the Navy is blue. We don't really, we integrated before the rest of society, and we all serve one mission and take the same oath, so I've never really been able to grasp in the civilian life these kinds of discussions. And I'm deeply troubled by the idea that we're making it a point in 2021 to paint all the black people in town into one area. Commissioner May, I have been, we especially when we talked about housing projects and things like that, you and I have been in lockstep on making sure that we don't, do things to cordon off society and in ways called this area a black area and this area a white area, or that's a black school and that's a white school. So much emphasis in this discussion, we are talking about skin color as though all white people or all black people are monolithic in their voting. It's important to remember that the single fastest growing party affiliation in Escambia County is no party affiliation. That should not be lost on us as we think about how the voters are, how they go to the polls and what's in their mind as they go to the polls. So, Commissioner May, I've always had a real problem with some of the unintended consequences of the single majority minority district, because if you put all the black folks in one community, one district, you can pretty much assure there'll be one black commissioner. You'll also pretty much assure there'll never be two. And I'm not sure that we're achieving the goals. In fact, I'm fairly certain we're not achieving the goals that we had intended, that were intended with the majority-minority district. So I would be cautious about building and expanding on that majority black in a particular place, because it does have the net effect of disenfranchising perhaps black votes outside of that perimeter. Thank you.
And Commissioner Underhill, before Lumen weighs in, I just would say that we have to do this. We're under a court order. The McMillan decision still stands. Am I right, Allison Rogers? That question is to you. And we have to consider that when we build this precinct. Otherwise, there's not a one of us up here that would ever do this. This is what we do because we're under a court order. Is that not right, Allison?
So technically, the court order has expired.
Right.
But the concept is still very much ingrained in the federal and state law, which is that you cannot dilute the minority vote. And when you have more than 20% of the population minority, as we do in Escambia County, you cannot make it by drawing the maps such that that minority vote is so diluted that the minority population cannot elect, making it impossible for them to elect a candidate of their choosing. And so when you have 5 county commissioners, 20%, 20%, 20%, and more than 20% minority population, you have to provide through the redistricting process the possibility that that minority population can elect at least one candidate of their choosing. So the concept remains in law regardless of the Macmillan order.
So and I've seen you sat pretty silent down there as we're talking about black numbers, white numbers. Is there anything we're doing whatsoever outside of the norm of what we've done? We did this 10 years ago, I remember.
No, this is the way these conversations are supposed to go, and I know that it's clunky, but this is the way that these kind of things go. I will say, of course, in the back of my mind is just I want to make sure that the deviation doesn't get out of whack. So we don't want to have a double-digit deviation between the highest and the lowest population so that we don't violate the very principle of what you're trying to do, which is one person, one vote. So, but we don't need to jump in on the math and at every turn. We just need to make sure when you get to a place where you have a fairly firm proposal that we make sure the deviation is not too high.
Okay.
And then we can go from there.
And Commissioner May, the only other thing I would, that I could point out and that I might suggest is you had mentioned earlier bars south to Fisher over to 18th. And I think if you look at that, I think, can we add that to Commissioner May's map and see what that does? Because I think
Take it out, my man, take it out.
I'm sorry, is it take it?
Take it and give it to Bender.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that's what it is. It's taking those, because sometimes you take it out, there's a lot of white population. So you want to have them go ahead and take a look at that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chair,
Yes,
before you do that, I know Robert is the person who does all the math. But when I was looking at your map, our numbers are higher than they were when Robert did his first map. And I didn't know whether you made any changes to District 4.
No, ma'am.
But if we're about to make additional changes to District 4, it's going to put us way over the 5%.
no, his map, we have not made, I haven't touched.
Because you have, on the map that you gave us,
Yes.
it's 67, and Robert's map, we were at 66,000. So I didn't know what the difference was. Does Robert
We
know
haven't
the
touched.
answer?
Hey, Robert, can you weigh in on that?
Yeah, it looks like you gave back the area between Olive and Davis Highway, interstate, was you left it in District 4.
Okay.
And then in the area that Commissioner May is talking about between 12th and 18th there.
Yes.
Commissioner May, so one, by taking precinct 88, that gives us, and just to quickly talk,
Okay.
just of the Wyoming, that's a fairly large precinct. That has just between two demographics over almost 2,800 people. So that's where we pick up, District 4 picks up a lot of population by taking over 88. So in giving the area between Olive and the interstate to Davis, although it does not help the population of African-American voters, it is a way to get rid of a lot of population in District 4.
Okay, why don't we wait, Robert, one moment, please. So, yeah, because you're right. This map, Patty, to your question, this map that we had no idea about the changes that he made. So that's the reason the numbers changed. He made meetings.
That was the original map, Jeff.
So, Robert, why don't we add your changes to this map right here and see what it looks like? Why don't you just?
So what I'm saying is this. No, yeah. So what I'm saying is that the area south of Olive, at the south part of the screen right here, that was part of the original map. So somehow you guys cut it out.
Okay, so let's add it back. Explain to Chris right now where that is, and let's add it back to your map, and that'll hopefully balance the numbers.
So again, not knowing what was, okay, so Jeff, Chris, the area just north of the map, of the mouse, yep, south of that line to the interstate was what was originally in the proposal to go to District 3. No,
Okay,
just south of Olive,
South of Olive,
Yep,
over
right
to what road?
Davis.
Okay, so let's assign that back.
It does not have it doesn't help the numbers, but it doesn't
Well, before we, okay.
Is that representative of what you're speaking about?
That is it, correct, yes.
Yep.
Well, I mean, it's not helping the numbers. I mean, and I'm certainly, Robert, that 12th to 18th Avenue, I mean, I'm not going down a sword either way. I mean, quite frankly, it was gerrymandered out to keep an ECUA representative, God bless the dead, inside that district is the real reason why it was there, because it made no contiguous sense to put it there other than you had an elected person to go. So, and that's the reason why I conceded. Unfortunately, and I agree, Doug, with you. It's a sad day when you look at how people are elected in Escambia County. And you're right, in 2021, you're not going to elect a Democrat countywide. You're going to have probably 4 Republican districts, and people vote on party line. It's the real reality. They vote party line, religion, and race. And Doug, I concur. It's sad, but it still exists. You have many people who are Democrats at heart in Escambia County, but they've converted over to be Republicans so they can be elected, and they do it daily.
They do it all the time.
And that's the true fact about it. I mean, 20 years ago, they were all Democrats, but Democrats can't get elected, so they all become Republicans. It's unfortunate. It's the way that the world is. For me, I don't really care about the party affiliation, the religious affiliation, nor the race for Lou and May. I ran against Clay Ford and lost by less than 2% with the majority of the Republican white votes. And so I represent all people. But I do understand the equality and equity of making sure that you have representation by the Constitution of all people. And so that's why it's very important to get these districts, a minority-majority district. And hopefully when we sit down 10 years from now, because of the leadership of this board and this commission, we won't have to have those discussions of why we have to have that equity and inclusion. So, Doug, you make some very valid points, and I concur. It is sad, and it's representative of what happens. But, that's the deal in this district. Why are the poor schools in District 3? Why are the poor areas in African-American? I mean, there are some systemic issues that go beyond drawing these lines that we have to address. So, Doug, I'm glad you brought that up, and we'll have to continue to address those issues. But we have not gotten there today, and that's unfortunate.
Yep.
So I appreciate the effort of moving that way, Jeff, and I'm going to be supportive of having inclusionary districts.
Yep, but I will point out what we just did with Robert with that addition, it really negatively impacted his percentages. Look at the numbers. He went from, almost 1,100 to down to, a much smaller amount, down to about 600. So it was a negative impact.
Commissioner Bergosh, if I may.
Yeah, please.
Which is weird, because in my original proposal, it was with this being included and the other changes we made today, Commissioner May had over 800. And so it seems like the changes that we just made to 101 in that area, and also to I think the area to the south, should have increased that. If that's what we were.
Well, we haven't.
to
I don't think we've
accomplish.
added all your changes yet. I mean, just knowing right now the snapshot in time, that's why you got to finish. You have to finish, right? You stop right now, like red light, green light, and it doesn't work. So, what other changes had you proposed? Because I saw what you talked about earlier today. I saw it being at about 800.
Sure.
So, what else did you want to add back?
So I don't. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what changed or where we. Where District 3 lost some of that population based off of what was my map. And I'm not trying to do my map, but it was just when we start working off of multiple maps, you do lose some of what's already been accomplished.
And I think that's why we got to concentrate. We got to concentrate on a map that can get over the line. And I think we're working on it right now.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah.
And I noticed this. Can you scroll to the southern portion of the city, please? Because if you just took a hybrid of what are the changes to this District 2, District 3 area in 8256, are those made in this map? Does that go to Garden?
What exactly are you talking about? You talking about?
So, right, we had made some proposed changes to take District 2 to Garden, and I don't think that these are, yes, so that's my proposed change to just clean it up.
Does that add?
But sorry, can you just zoom in a little bit more?
Yeah, because I didn't presume to add any or subtract anything from anyone else's district except for 2 and 1.
So I think because you took us off of, is that Garden Street? Is that what that is? As the boundary there? It's Zaragoza.
Zaragoza.
Right. So I think what happened was that when Paul did his map, he didn't take into account the changes that we had made in the southern portion of the city. And if you based your map off of that, then
we did.
you didn't account for all the changes that we had made.
So we can add those back in
initially.
if Commissioner May is okay with that. Commissioner May, are you okay with adding that back if it helps your percentage?
Adding what?
Robert, what did you want to add back?
So there was the whole impetus, everything south of Garden. And this is what I was saying, when you start working off of multiple maps.
Yeah, that's why we got to
lose some
concentrate on one
changes
map.
that you had.
Hold on, south of Garden, from where to where?
East, south of Garden.
So we're going east.
So I think what, so the map that came out of the last meeting made those changes. In this map, I don't think
So Robert, well,
captured those.
Supervisor, I'm sorry. So was this originally in District 3, Robert? I'm trying to find out the exact street that you're saying east of Garden.
So the map that is currently on the screen is no changes. We did make some changes going through the initial map.
Pull up the initial District 1. I mean, the proposal 1.
Yes.
Pull it.
Commissioner,
Working on it.
if I could,
Or actually, let's keep this map up. If we can just get, because it does not look like Garden Street is there. You can see where, yes, right where there's Garden Street right there.
Okay, so
everything,
and this,
and it went all the way to Pace.
while he's adding it, let me ask you, Robert.
Yeah, he's going down to the tan yard coming out. That's in, you're going down to the tan yard now.
if I might,
Yes.
in the initial meeting that was here, the board discussed moving from the current line of District 2 in downtown, going north to Garden Street.
Right.
From 9th Avenue, but it was over to Pace. I don't remember this section, but what I started from when Chris and I got together was the original map before any changes were made. So those changes that were talked about the first time were not part of any map that I looked at.
Nor was it one of I, because Commissioner May at that time didn't, I mean, he said, maybe, I don't think he was necessarily wed to that idea, but looking at that, okay, let's look at those numbers. What does that do to his?
Sorry, it keeps going. It went all the way, followed Garden all the way over to,
9th Avenue.
well, yes, but then it went up
Okay, let's see what it looks like.
Alkanese to Chase Street.
All the way to Aragon, Robert?
Yep. So all that would become District 2.
And what does that do to let's look at the numbers and the percentages.
So you're taking that out of District 3 is what you're trying to do, Robert?
To eliminate white voters out of District. Essentially.
I got a lot of friends over there.
No, but it would also help with Doug's numbers in getting his population up because he was a little on the low side.
Mr. Vice Chairman, if I may?
Yes, please.
I would be, while certainly, yes, Mr. Chairman, help with Doug's numbers, I'd actually prefer that we not really, they're not my numbers, they're District 2. It also makes District 2 much more city-centric. Putting more of an emphasis on the city voters in District 2 is going to have the net effect of disenfranchising Warrington, Myrtle Grove, the rest of District 2. The equities on the other side of the bayou are significantly different than those in the downtown area. And obviously, I'm pretty sure that, you guys have the votes that you need for however you're going to draw this thing, but that will have a net effect of disenfranchising the old west side.
Well, okay, that's your opinion. Commissioner May, if we take this out of your district, it looks like we're taking out.
Let's see what you're taking out.
Yeah. Did you already?
What's those numbers?
Okay.
No, yeah.
So you'd be taking out 1,000 white voters of voting age population and 244 African American, which would help your percentage, which would dramatically help. But do you want to lose those streets? That's the,
I mean, we just gotta look at the scenario. I'm not sure I do. I mean, quite candidly, I spend a lot of time downtown, and I'm very familiar with that area.
okay.
And it's
Well, I mean, do
close
you-
to where I live. I'm not saying I wouldn't, but I'm just, let's look at all the scenarios. I mean,
Okay,
that's,
well,
that's not gonna be, I mean, what's your reasoning for making that recommendation, Commissioner Bender?
There's been a lot of, growth in that area. I mean, that was an area that, you think of Southtown, you think of all the new homes that are being built. And so it was twofold. It was one, to just bring up the numbers in District 2, which were low. So it just redistributes the total population a little bit. And then, as you can see, there's also a large discrepancy in terms of the voting age population. So that would further assist your numbers.
Commissioner May.
Well, I gotta have some white people in my district so I can get some new homes. Drop this number on, drop that line on down toward the green and see what it does, Chris.
Okay, so so we're going to keep what we have here, and then we're going to go the other way down.
Yeah, I want to keep dropping south toward East Government, coming down and just toward Zaragoza and Main Street and see what it does. Just see what it does, Jeff, that's all.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess we're going to disregard what we just did. Just take that out, Chris? Just zero it out. We're going to do
Yeah, I mean, we can just come back to it. I just want to see if when we dropped it on down, what would happen, what would.
from 9th all the way over, or from
Yeah, just made this contiguous and came all the way down.
all the way to downtown? Perfect. Yeah, okay. Let's take a look at that.
And then it would be, we would be taking downtown.
Yeah. It's not I don't think it'll be a lot of numbers, but the percentage will be probably.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of
High
businesses, yeah.
And where do you want to go? You want to go from A Street, or you want to go all the way over Lumen?
Go all the way over to,
All the way over to Pace, or do you want to stop at A Street?
all the way to Page.
All the way to Pace, okay. All right.
And then we can come back to just age up and delay. Yeah, that's still the construction. They can still have their home. I mean, and Dr. Eller makes a good point. And Robert, I'm open, and Jeff, to all these ideas, but there are some historically African-American neighborhoods within the Tan Yard, particularly right around Incidencia, around C and Romana, that are pretty important neighborhoods.
You'd have to give something back.
So I could probably see carving some of that out, but.
No, he's below. Yeah, well, Lumen, if you did that, you'd still be below the maximum threshold of 67,600, so.
Right.
But I don't know about the numbers. I don't know what you're looking.
I don't mean to interrupt. I just did want to point out, I am somewhat familiar with, this would take Lois Benson out of her district.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we don't do that.
What would take Louis Benson out of her district?
She's the District 2 ECUA representative, and I believe her homestead falls in the area that you've just shaded.
I don't know where anyone lives. I mean, I wouldn't know that.
It's unshaded area.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, Commissioner Underhill.
Yeah, the map that we just had up, speaking early to you primarily, Commissioner May, the option that we had on the screen just before this, I couldn't help but feel like as soon as we clean up a community and gentrify it, then we pull it out of District 3. That would certainly guarantee that District 3 has the lion's share of the problem areas if every time that we actually do make an improvement in District 3, we then pull it out of District 3. So I was deeply troubled by that proposal that was on the screen. This proposal actually makes a lot more sense to me. And for the downtown business area to be represented by by that majority minority, I think is a significant change. And one that I think is in keeping with the historic value I mean, it's kind of funny that back in the day, the poor folks lived down by the water. and the rich folks lived up on the hill. And once the federal government started handling our flood insurance, then the rich folks moved down to the water. So this is actually very beneficial for District 2 as well as District 3, Commissioner May, in that this has the net effect of making the District 2 commissioner, pulling them out of some of the city equities and focusing more on those equities in the Myrtle Grove, Warrington areas, Beach Haven, things like that. So what we have on the screen is something that I would be very supportive of with you, Commissioner May.
Appreciate it.
Commissioner May?
Yep.
Just to point out, that would leave you 850, if we were to do this, and I don't disagree with what Doug just said. I kind of like the idea of you having that section of downtown, but it puts you 855 votes above where you need to be. If you make the dividing line A Street, I think you would lose enough and leave from A Street west in D2. That would leave you enough, and would that keep Lois Benson in her seat as well? Would it solve two issues?
See what,
Yeah, and again, I'm not counsel to ECUA, but I just am familiar with her
Sure.
homestead, and it is all the way to the east down Government Street.
Okay.
So it's a little, yeah.
So,
so move it to A Street and see what it does for our numbers, Jeff.
yeah, okay,
please.
yeah, so leave everything crosshatched except take A Street all the way over and put that back into D2. Just see what that does.
I mean, because Commissioner Underhill made some very valid points.
He sure did.
But Jeff, you're right in where you're going. We're not going to sacrifice to be, the commissioner of downtown to represent the equality, equity lines. We're not going to do that. Would be selfish in not thinking of those who, as one commissioner said, we're not here in perpetuity. Some of us are leaving, quick, and some of us are leaving quicker, but none of us are here to stay.
So
Okay, so
this is the,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Stafford. I don't think there's people in there, but let's, oops. Okay, so 60.
so if you look at number 7, district, the dummy district, if you will, you've got, that's just the highlighted area. So if you were to assign that to District 3.
Can you go back?
that's
Can
what
you
it
go
does
back,
to the
please, Dave?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
You'd be over a couple hundred votes,
Yeah, that's.
which we could, yeah. Yeah, I don't know how you do that, though.
Yeah, that's going to be a challenge. You're right. It's going to be a challenge.
Can we go back just momentarily and make sure we captured any other changes Robert might have had that were beneficial that you supported, Lumen, in your district?
Sure.
Robert,
Yeah.
other than those other changes, were there other changes that you made?
So there's the portion to the left of 56 there.
Okay.
I think those are the 3 blocks that we cut back into District 2.
Hey, Chris, you're gonna uncrosshatch that stuff, right? We're gonna etch-a-sketch that for a minute, please.
You want to take it out?
Yeah, just put
Okay.
it back to where it was, because okay. Now, where are you talking about, Robert? Oh, okay, okay, right here. Let's just look at what that does. Okay, that's a good change. That's more African American than white.
Where's
Well,
that?
no, it's taking it out of District 3 and putting it in District 2, but it just cleans up the city-county line, so you don't have some small portion of unincorporated Escambia that is in District 3.
I don't know if that makes sense for Commissioner May, though, Robert. I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean, is there?
And I don't think Commissioner O'Neill even wants it in his, wants it.
It would make.
It's in the county, it's not in the city.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
For me, that would actually make sense. The city lines, being really the defining lines for how people think through their politics here. it would make sense for that to be a part of District 2.
And if I may, just from an administrative standpoint, when you lay over what would happen there is those 5 or 6 blocks would be a unique district because it would have to be part of it couldn't stand alone as its own precinct, so it would be a split precinct, and so you'd have that number of voters that would be split between the city and the county, and potentially also between it would be split between 2 commission districts. So what this would do is would follow the city line there.
Okay, Commissioner May, you'd be losing 75 black voters and 69 white voters with that. So percentage-wise, it's painful, but numbers-wise, it's not a big number. But I'm going to defer to you. This is your district.
It's 6 votes. It's a difference of 6 votes.
Many elections been lost on 6 votes.
Ask Gene Valentine. Landslide.
Yeah, ex-PC.
Landslide.
Yeah, PC. Jeff, go keep moving with yours, and if we need to move that back, I mean, even if it's a little inconvenient,
we're gonna leave
we
that.
may have to get it. But I think you know the initial goal where we're going.
So Chris,
let's lay your plan out, and then we can add that back.
Let's leave that where it is for now, guys. Let's leave it in we can try and clean it up later. But I'd like to go up to.
I'm sorry. To be clear, leave
it in 3.
Did you want it to remain in D3 or go to D2?
For now, just leave it in D3.
Yeah.
Unless that's the problem, David. If it hurts you, take it out. I mean,
it doesn't hurt me. It's just I'm hearkening back to one of the challenges here is this map is not based. This map from the starting point did not incorporate the changes that came out of the first meeting.
Right.
So some of these other changes, the map that you were working on the other day, the map that Commissioner Bender was working on, making those other changes, did not incorporate those. And so I think there's other parts between the District 4 and District 3 lines that may not be incorporated in this version because Mr. Fetzko's starting point, which then you all amended, was different than that.
No, and I respect that, Mr. And Jeff, as you said, and I've supported, we knew it was going to be a challenge, and because it needed to be expedited, you gave wise counsel that this was going to be a little longer of a task than the time span that most agreed that we should pursue. So,
and I appreciate that, Lumen, and that's why I did say from the beginning, I didn't think we had enough time to do it. And now here we are up against a ticking clock. We're actually at full sprint because we have to advertise this 2 times in the next month before we have the final hearing on December 2nd. Otherwise, it gets pushed into the holidays. And oh, by the way, there's Thanksgiving in the mix as well. So I think we can get it done. If we work, we'll probably have to work a while tonight. And look, no one's going to.
And I don't think tonight is the final. I mean, I know you got to advertise.
We pretty much. I think the goal tonight from staff, the goal is we need to have something that can get support on both boards. Right. And from my perspective, and speaking with Kevin and the others, and being on the school board before, I think it's vitally important that, at least for my district, and I don't want to speak for anyone else's district, but I think it's important that we keep our districts the same. That way there's no voter confusion. Oh, okay, this is the commissioner, but not the school board member because we got 2 streets. I think it's worth the extra effort to find a map that we can all, even if we don't like every bit of it, because look, no one's going to like every bit of it. We're not up here doing this because we have, because we want to. I didn't want to. I wanted to do this in 2023, but we were told by our attorneys we couldn't. We had to go. Even with COVID, even with getting our data late, here we are. So I appreciate those comments, Commissioner May. I think we can get there. I mean, we got to look at where we're at. 5 and 4, I mean, they're pretty good. There's one minor modification I think we could make and get both those numbers right, and we want to get your numbers right.
And this is just a workshop, and it's difficult to throw these, as the supervisor said, so many different scenarios, so many different people are doing maps.
That's why
to get a clear consensus, it's
that's why you got to go with the map.
And you're making a decision that's a 10-year decision, well, really is a 20-year decision, with getting information, because we can't go to Waterburg and do it on the back of a napkin. You know what I mean?
Right.
We got to do it right here.
We got to do it right here.
And so it takes diligence.
So I think,
but I'm all for the compromise, Jeff. I mean, I think I've stated my position. Dr. Eller hadn't said much, but I think we have to all compromise, and we all got to give up something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
No question about it. So let's keep that in D3, and then we'll move up and we'll take a look at these numbers on Bar Street, south of Fisher.
Chair,
Yes?
can we just decide that we're going to use one of these maps? And I don't care which
Yeah,
one.
and this is the one, I believe this is the one
And then
that-
we make all the changes in one place and not have to go
Yeah,
back
that's
and
exactly
forth.
what, Patty, I agree with you 1,000%. That's going to be this map.
Okay,
I
so
really
we're
believe
going to
this.
start here, and this is where we're
Yes,
going to
ma'am.
make sure we're moving from. Thank you.
Yeah, we get Robert's changes, we get Commissioner May and Dr. Edler, and then we'll be moving in the right direction. Okay, so, yeah, so if you look at Bars Street,
So Jeff, if I may, if we
Yes.
can look at the changes that were proposed earlier today to help with the city-county line and the precincts in 72 and 98 and 48. If we'd start there, please.
yeah, okay, that's fine.
Because,
Were those beneficial to
Yeah.
Commissioner May, though? Were those beneficial changes to him?
no, sir, they're not.
Do you want to look at them, Lumen? I mean, this is your district.
What are you, what are you proposing, Robert? If they're not beneficial,
So the
I'm
proposal-
not going to support them.
No, I'm saying leaving it the way it is not beneficial.
Okay, well, then, okay, we had
so it
a
was
communication breakdown there. Okay, show us one by
72.
one.
Yep.
Okay?
So this, which is currently a split precinct between the city and the county, would move into the county.
Okay, we need to put this in a
Into-
dummy.
into one.
Are we going to put this in a dummy? There we go, yeah, all right. Okay, so what does that do to his numbers?
I know exactly what that is, by Diane Maxwell.
Okay, that looks, you know, you're proposing to take that back from him.
You want that, Robert?
Correct.
Well, your numbers are wrong.
Yes.
Okay,
So what this does is this cleans up the city precincts. It helps us overlay with the city precincts. If we also add,
But Robert, excuse me,
Portions
but it's
of-
still contiguous to District 3. I mean, even you're cutting it, if you're taking a part of 72, it's still contiguous. I mean, when you come up Hillbrook towards Skyline. So, I mean, how are you making it? I don't understand
but
what you mean.
Commissioner May, I would point out, if he does this, if he takes this change, he takes away 320 white voters on a percentage basis.
I understand.
It looks good.
If I may,
So-
if I may, excuse me, what that does is it's district. We're conflating two things, district lines and precinct lines. So currently, precinct 72. When I say currently, under the current proposal that the city is working on, which again, take that for what it is. It may not be final, but in the entirety of that section of 72 is within one district. So what this line, as it's currently drawn, would split a city council district into two different county commission districts. So what I think that this would do would put the entirety of that area into one county commission district versus two.
Okay, and that's fine. Robert, that's what you want to do, that's fine. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so let's assign, we'll do Robert's changes, Lumen, and we'll look at what it does to your numbers, and then we'll pull back.
Is that off Carpenter's Creek, Robert?
Robert?
To the west?
I think I
yes.
think the yellow line is
Currently,
Carpenter's Creek.
Carpenter, yeah.
Is that
It
Sherry
is.
Myers, city council district?
That is correct.
It is.
Okay.
Okay, so we're assigning that to District 4.
Yeah.
And then what are your other changes, Robert?
So then, Chris, so just to that little boot right there is the remaining portion in the city that's in precinct 64.
And district,
And then there,
and that county, that city council district. But yes, that,
Can you separate that out so we can see the numbers on that? Let's see that numbers, okay. 193, 190, But,
and then also include a small unincorporated portion,
I don't think it does that. It's just there.
which
He's gonna
extends
do some back.
over to the interstate.
1,000.
It's just that. Oh, yeah, that's right, the unincorporated, sorry. Don't listen to me.
I appreciate everyone else's patience. This is called making sausage in real time.
Yes, Chris, that's the area that you, the changes you made for today.
So what are you proposing to do with that? Put that in your district, Robert?
Yes, sir.
And it was currently in what district?
It's currently in your district, but it would do two things. One, it would make precinct 64 a whole district, and that little boot would not be separate, which is where we anticipate to be a city boundary also. So, Chris, if you can just show where that little boot is, right there would be a small portion that would have different county representation in the same city council seat. So it's just a small adjustment that we didn't have before. And then it just also absorbs the small unincorporated area, which that's the only part that's in the county. The rest is in the city.
I mean, if we have
So
to do that,
the
Robert,
area-
I'd be supportive. I'm certainly don't have an issue with 72. I'm much more inclined to support 72. I mean, that is, I mean, I understand what you're saying for the city council, but who knows what they're going to do once they draw their lines. I mean, it's just a recommendation to city council. We have no idea what they're going to do once that recommendation comes to them. So, I mean, we can't base everything that we do on a subcommittee of a city council ad hoc
Absolutely.
committee because it has not gone to city council. So we're anticipating what city council is doing, and every Thursday it's just like a commission meeting. It changes. So, I mean, we shouldn't do things based on what we project the city council to do. I mean, that's bad.
I'm with you
in my
1,000%. If I could make a recommendation, just a suggestion, let's get his changes booked onto the district, and then we'll pull back as you see fit, as Dr. Edler see fit, until we get the numbers. That
Well, go. Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. So Robert, let's finish with your changes, and that way we're all on the same sheet of music. We're on the same map. What else?
That is it for my changes.
Okay. Then the only other one was the downtown stuff. So Lumen, let me ask you a direct question. Do you agree with what we did? Because I do remember when we pulled those streets back and took them out of your district, that did help your percentage. But you're driving the boat in your district. So if you want to keep them, can you scroll down to that area that was on Commissioner Bender's draft map? And you would lose some streets. Explain again, Robert, what he would be losing so that we can put that in context to what we're looking at right now.
Right. He would lose east of Pace, south of Garden.
Okay?
You know, I understand Commissioner Underhill's comments. But I mean, this part is in the city. And so I don't think it's necessarily, it's not a portion that we have a great deal to, on our county services that we're dealing with. It would
Right now.
bring District 3 closer to the 64, 381 number, and it would also give some population to District 2, which was a little low to begin with.
Yeah, and right now.
I'm indifferent though, Jeff. I was just, again,
Yeah, no,
looking
no.
at trying
Well,
to.
I'm inclined to put it in there, and then Lumen and Dr. Edler can decide whether or not, but I'm looking at the numbers right now, guys, and just the raw numbers, African-American versus white, you're back up to 864. And I think we will if we make this change. You want to take a look at it? Okay. All right, Robert, let's add
Well,
this.
let's do this. Sorry, Jeff. Instead of making it as a large, everything south of Garden, east of Pace.
Okay.
We could focus more on the area that's east of Palafox.
Okay.
And include south of Chase. So.
Do you know what he's talking about, Chris? Okay, so let's take a look at.
Well, let's see what the numbers say.
Yeah, we'll see the
because
number.
you're wiping out a portion of the tan yard that still exists off of Romana and Sanders Beach area, Corrine Jones, not Sanders Beach, Corrine Jones area. But we can look at it, Robert.
Okay.
And Dr. Eller, I'm open. I mean, that's your stomping ground, so, I mean, but
But I mean,
open.
it's swinging, it's
Here, no, you're putting that in District 4. Put it in District 7. There
dummy,
you
yeah,
go.
the dummy district, yeah, there we go. Yeah, you're taking a lot of white out of that district, okay. Is that what else, or was that the entirety of it, Robert?
I'd be willing to see what that does to, if you put it in District 2.
Well, yeah, you can have
I mean,
that.
Okay, so that's going to.
That portion makes sense, Jeff, for him to keep.
Okay, so let's do that and see what it does to your numbers. Okay. What happened? Did you assign it?
It reflects, I mean, the numbers as they're represented would be, if we assigned it, what they would.
Yeah, go ahead and assign it. Go ahead and assign it. All right, so your numbers now, Lumen,
About
1,400?
We're almost there, Jeff. We're gonna get to that 16?
Yeah, let's go get
All
let's
right,
go
keep
get
going
it.
then. We'll keep
All right,
going.
you're good with that? Okay, so
I'm
let's
good with that. Keep moving to,
let's move up, and we gotta give a,
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
yes, Commissioner Underhill.
Commissioner May, I would strongly encourage you to think about the opportunity that exists here. We could very easily have, it's kind of historically, District 4 is the city district, but we have the opportunity to have two primarily city districts, one heavily Republican and one heavily Democrat. And that would be a much more accurate reflection of the politics of this part of our county. Going back to the idea of bringing, and which would also, by the way, bring some wealth and tax revenue into District 3. You'd mentioned when we talked about this earlier that maybe that felt a little greedy. I can't see how that would be. I mean, to have the two city commissioners and three primarily county commissioners, or rural commissioners, that's a more accurate reflection of who we are and where the equities lie. And is I think, a very small, narrow opportunity here for a primarily Democrat, a leans Democrat county commissioner having the responsibility for an area, that's where there are no dumps, Lumen. So, huge opportunity here for that balance between the Republican D4 and the Democrat D3 on city politics, and then pushing the other three precincts, or I'm sorry, the other three districts to be primarily outside the city limits. That's radical change, Lumen, and I think that opportunity lies here with us today. And quite simply, the only thing that really would stand in the way of that would be the redistricting of Perdido Key, leave that in the southwest, and leave Myrtle Grove in the southwest. Your communities stay more firmly aligned. You get to the numbers that you need in terms of the majority-minority, and also increase the volume, the presence of the Democrat vote in areas other than places where there's dumps. It's a great opportunity to make a real difference going forward. And I would ask you to recognize that you've got the support of at least one other commissioner on this dais to make that change in Escambia County this year. Thank you.
appreciate it. I mean, I'm open-minded to everything as we're drawing out these maps. Jeff, this takes
sir.
what? It takes what? So we're coming down B Street, A Street to Government, and so we don't go past Romana in this scenario, correct?
It doesn't look like it.
So we get to
It's hard to
Romana.
read.
So where we sit now would be in District 2?
Yep. The green, that green that we gave away, and that does wonders for your numbers.
No, it would, I mean, it didn't change, sorry, Commissioner, it didn't change the current border east of Palafox. It didn't change the current border it didn't change the current border west of Palafox, sorry. Our building is west of Palafox, did not change that.
So our building sits in District 2, though. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we're
Currently,
and proposed.
yes, sir.
Jeff, if we came just on the red, if we come from Balin to Clubs, if we came down one more street, what would that do, Dave?
let's look at it.
You're saying come south?
Yes, sir. Just right there to the left, right there. There you go. Just that one.
And pick that up. Let's see.
Yeah.
All the way to A?
Yeah, right there.
You're going to throw that in a dummy district so we can look at
Yeah,
it.
let's just look at it.
Well, I mean, you're talking about picking that up.
Yeah,
Well, you'd be picking up 56.
56 and 24.
Yeah, so the 24 represents, I don't think that helps you overall, 85. You take the 24, divide that by 85 equals, that would be 28%.
It squares us up. It doesn't hurt me. It doesn't help or hurt, I guess.
Do you
but
want
it squares it up. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
add
put
it.
it there because it squares it up. To me, it looks more contiguous. It looks better.
Let's assign that. And then you want to go up and look at that bars to Fisher, see what that does?
We could do that.
I think we're getting pretty close. Okay, there it is, right there. So if you take the bottom two blocks from whatever that main road is, 12th, yeah, take those two and go all the way across. And let's give those, put them in the dummy district first. Okay, I think you got what's the grand total? 167 total voters, 71 white, 45 black. So that's a 45, divide that by 133 equals, yeah, so that's a 33%. If you give that back to Commissioner Bender, I think that helps your percentages.
So why are we just looking at those two blocks? Well, I mean,
Well, because if you go further up, the numbers get skewed. We looked at it. So just for purposes of taking a look at it, let's go ahead and assign that.
I would just say if we can, just leave it. If it doesn't make a difference.
It makes a big difference. No, it makes a significant difference for his percentages. So let's
Sorry.
Chris, let's go ahead.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Jeff, I'm sorry, real quick. Hey, Chris, can you put that back in the District 7?
Yeah, put it in 7. There you go.
So, what was that? 26 votes makes a huge percentage in the difference. I'm just asking.
Well, what I'm saying to you is we're looking to get a better percentage for Commissioner May in his district. You've got 45 African Americans. You divide that by the total number of voting age population, which is 133. You come out with 33%. Right now he's at 44, 45.
Right.
That doesn't help him, but if he gets rid of it, it does help him. You
But
see?
we're already pushing, I'm already at 4.92% over.
I understand that, and we've got one final move on the
And so,
chessboard.
right, and so I'm just saying, just to move 2 blocks in, again, I think where it was in the city overlay, I know it's a proposal, but I think it would still work as it is without these 2 extra blocks.
I don't know, Commissioner May, that's.
I don't see, Rob, I hear what you're saying. I don't see where it hurts. I mean, as it moves into that.
Well, it's just
to the
adding more.
neighborhood.
It's just adding more to the district that already has the most, and I'd
Well, let's just, Robert,
Appreciate
let's just keep it, and then if it means that it has too many in your district, we'll just take it back, yeah? I mean,
okay.
in the spirit of
So,
just
Lumen,
getting
you'd
this
like to go
done.
ahead and assign this? Yeah, let's go ahead and assign it.
And if we need to move it back, just move it back. I'm fine with it. It's, like I said, it's not that many, it's just 2 blocks.
Okay, so let's look at where you're at right at the moment. 22,907 minus 21,466, 21,466. You're at 1441 to the good. So I think some of the changes that we've made have really been beneficial to your district. Now, looking at the numbers of each district, it looks like District 4 is over by about 120 votes. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
That put me to that last change put me to the north.
Well,
at
but I think
0.18%.
I think there's some. I mean, looking over at Copter, of course, I don't want to, I'm just, Copter, if you took Copter Road and gave that back to Stephen North, if they want it, if they'd be amenable to that, that would put you comfortably within the range. Let's just take a look at it and let Bill and Stephen look at that as well. But you've got, and that would put District 5, would actually give District 5 go all the way up to Copter. Take Copter, take that little, see that little spur there? That's about 1,000 votes there. The top up there, yeah, just, and so District 5 would be more, in alignment if they're willing to do that. And that balances the board, that balances the map.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so.
No, you're not interested? Okay, so that's fine.
Let's find.
Find
let's
120?
Yeah, for him to give to somebody else. And Mr. Slayton can certainly give his own comments, but, our population being a little bit low is similar to your population being a little bit low. It's going to be just fine.
Okay,
So
all
I'm
right,
not-
good enough.
it's-
We're 120 votes away from solving this Rubik's Cube. Let's find it. If it means giving up that,
So
Yeah.
Jeff, let's just move those 2 blocks back in and we're good.
Commissioner May? I want Commissioner May to weigh in on this.
That 2 blocks, I mean, it was a 26 vote difference. I mean, so it takes the cushion from 1440 to 1420. I mean, that's a much healthier cushion than currently exists as we sit in as the elections were conducted last year. I believe, Mr. Stafford, I believe that the cushion in District 3 would be significantly less currently than 1,400 votes. And so by the actions that we're taking, I think we're increasing that cushion of majority-minority considerably, and I think that's substantial, and I think that's, probably as good and, responsible an outcome as we can have, unless there's another opportunity for Robert to divest a couple of blocks to either Commissioner Underhill, or if he has I don't know if Robert has any other majority-minority district or majority-minority blocks that border District 3. I don't know his.
Well, Robert just took some stuff out, Stephen, and obviously, I'd be satisfied if, we didn't have a minority-majority district for my run for my next seat. I do have to be prepared, although that is a great cushion. I have to look at, and people say don't look at trends. I have to look at the gentrification that's happening in District 3 in downtown and where it's going, just as people project their population growth in Beulah or whether it's in the north end. I know what the population growth is doing in District 3. And so, that's why I was excited for Commissioner Bagash to say we're going to get that number to about 1,600. And that
Got close.
And you did. You worked hard. And if there's 2 or 3 blocks, Stephen, in which I can increase that, that number and get, close to 1,600, I want to do it because I think that number is going to continue to dwindle. I know it's going to dwindle. And so, Robert, when over in Sherry Myers District, when you pull that out on contiguous in 72 and 64, those were some numbers that could have added to the 1441, but in good spirit, you pull those out, and I supported that. So I would like to, I certainly am not going to support going less than 1441. I would like to get to the 1,600, quite frankly, Jeff, if there was 1 or 2 blocks on the map in which we could make that happen.
Mr. Stafford,
Yes.
you have any ideas for us? Hearing the discussion, you would be more intimately familiar with these precincts and blocks, especially some that border these districts. Do you have an idea of where we could pick up?
Yeah, where can we pick up 120 votes? 120 votes, Robert. Here's where you can weigh in as well.
Again, the terminology here is important. You're saying votes. Do you mean total
Citizens.
population?
Yeah, total population,
Okay,
sorry.
I know, but it's because it's significant when you switch
yeah.
back and forth. Where you can find no, not off the top of my head.
Okay.
Where you can go pull. The challenge that you have is now you're dealing with basically if you all on District 5 are maintaining that 9-mile road, then there's really only one place, or really 2 places to go. One's now very narrow down at the southern border where District 4 and District 2 touch.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is a border between District 3 and District 4.
How about, I'm looking at a strip that looks.
If you're looking to try to divest population from one district into another, you
Why don't we
really
take a look
only
at-
have one place to go, and that's from 4 to 3.
Unless we divest something out of 3 and give that back to 4. I'm sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
Oh, no, Commissioner Barry, did you want to weigh in on that?
What about what you said, David, about, something from 4 to 2? There's only so much ability to, and I know that I know we're not supposed to gauge what's going to happen in the future, but, the numbers are, District 2 could still absorb some population, and they could certainly absorb it from Robert, and that would help everybody if there's a couple of blocks there that would be amenable to.
Yeah, right to the bridge south of, you want to look at that, Robert? Are you cool with
Taking a couple of blocks of waterfront, or, giving up something south of,
I would say there's very few people that live along Bayfront.
Is there 120 of them?
Especially.
Let's say, okay,
so.
Robert, let's just.
What are y'all trying to get to?
We're trying to get rid
a
of
little bit
120.
out of Robert's district, that's all.
Yeah, he's 120 heavy, so we got to find 120 he can
Let's
give to
just
Doug.
let's just put those 2 blocks back. I guarantee you the difference between the 2 blocks that you just took out is going to be more beneficial to District 3 than anything south of.
I'd rather take downtown than those 2 blocks, Robert. I'd rather, frankly, move further downtown and make that contiguous.
So,
that's going to be
Commissioner
there.
May, can you and I agree then that you just take those 2 blocks back?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. I'm sorry, Robert, I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
What's your contention
The
to
2
those 2 blocks? What's the contention to those? Robert, candidly, I represent more of the downtown in trying to make that contiguous. I do agree with Commissioner Underhill on that than trying to pick up 2 blocks on the avenues. To me, that's more of Roger Scott, city, you, than it is me. But
I'm saying that's Veterans Memorial Park and Gulf Power is the area that's pretty much south of Chase and to Bayfront. The 2 blocks aren't a big deal other than it's where they are now, and by making the change it puts me over.
Robert, just for the giggles of it, let's just see how many people there are there. Let's just take a look at it. Go up to the red line. Up to the red line. Just see how many people you got. Or is that going in the dummy? Let's see. How many people does that? Not a whole lot. Wow. 39. Well, that ain't going to get the job done.
yeah, it's only 39 people.
Yeah, go up to the next red line. What does that do?
I think now you're getting in East Hill and to put.
Yeah,
District
I don't know
2
that
in East
works.
Hill,
I don't know.
That's.
Yeah.
Robert, I hear what you're saying. That's insignificant, I believe, in getting your numbers where they are. And nor does it help me get to where I'm comfortable with in terms of the minority numbers.
Mr. Stafford, what if we go north a little bit? What is that north and south road that is, okay, so is that 11th Avenue? That's the eastern border of Lumen's district? Is that what that number is? Is that 9th or 11th? The eastern border,
That's 9th Avenue.
I'm sorry,
It's 9th.
north and east of there. What is the next? What road is that?
12th.
12th. What if you blocked off 12th? What if you brought 12th a little further south? And what if you brought 12th a little further south and pushed that over? What does that do?
We can look at it.
Squared that up.
Yeah,
It's a good idea, Steve.
Maybe.
180.
I mean, it doesn't help. It doesn't help Commissioner Mays. It doesn't help Commissioner Mays' number. It's all. Yeah.
Could you just pick up the first 2 blocks instead of the entire square and see what that does? What a blessing.
Yeah. Nothing.
Yeah.
What if you go up further, closer, and if you go up further north, if you unshade those?
Yeah, you got to unshade those other ones, Chris, please.
As soon as we click on the next one.
Oh, okay.
Is there? Well, that wouldn't be. Never mind.
That's the $1 million issue. It is primarily.
So, Commissioner May, to answer your question, I don't have an issue with the 2 blocks. It's just if we don't have to, it sounds like it feels like we're just changing them to change them. and it's pushing me over. So if we leave them unchanged, then we're good.
I mean, you still have to get rid of something else. I mean,
No,
if I really had my way, I probably would just continue to come further downtown, but it's not going to put the numbers where they need, so.
If you put those 2 blocks back, I'm good, you're good, we're all good.
Well, I want to make sure Commissioner May is good with that. If there's no other way. Robert, what was the other change that you made? Maybe, I mean, can we pull back maybe one of those other changes? Because I think Commissioner May, I'm hearing that he, you know, Commissioner May? I mean,
Yeah. I mean, if there's no other way to make it work, Jeff, in the spirit of.
I mean, it will make it work, but it may not necessarily be the only way to make it work, is what I'm saying.
Those other changes that were made to 72 and 98 and 48 had a bigger difference than those 2 blocks.
Okay, well,
Can you pull those up? Can you pull those changes up to number 7, Dave? Let's see what they did. I can't remember. It's been-
yeah,
I'm trying to get a ham sandwich all night.
So you want us to go back up and highlight those changes that were already made?
Yeah, I just want to see what they did.
that was 500 there. Yeah. What does that do to his percentages? Hang on, let's take a look at that. So,
So
total,
Jeff, what they're saying, what you're saying is if we leave those 2 blocks, it's a done deal. Is that what you're saying, Stephen? It's a done deal. Is that what y'all saying?
I think we're pretty close to something that I think most of us can agree on. Now, I'm just looking at that, and the African-American, what you just hatched there, the African-American percentage is 25%. So if you give that, I mean, it doesn't help them.
Why don't we just go back and do those 2 blocks?
Yeah,
The 2
okay.
blocks. Why don't we just go back and do the 2
Lumen,
blocks?
are you okay with that?
It changes 26 votes, but it makes everything else work.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
It still keeps it over 1,400 net cushion.
It's good for now, Jeff.
well, I mean, for now this is probably something we're going to vote on. I mean, we're getting dangerously close to something I believe that we will all, most of us, be able to agree with, I would think. Patty, did you want to weigh in on this, or? Okay, so so just as it is steady state, did you reassign that back? Is everything reassigned back? Okay. All right, so let's look at our numbers. 67,553, so 4, you're right at the point, but you're still good. 61,909, we're good. 60, so we're within the parameters, correct, Allison? We are.
Okay, everyone
Trust me.
knows I'm not the math genius, so.
No, I'm not either.
I would be great to see the actual deviations. Is that something that the software can show?
No, we just have to do some longhand math. We can do it pretty quickly, though.
Well, I mean, the stopwatch is clicking, man. We get something we can, I mean, we're not, yeah. Yes, that's true.
I think we did a pretty good job on the minority. We worked it hard.
The heck out of it.
We can't tell people where to go, where to move.
Exactly.
64,381 is the.
Hey, Jeff, it looks like you would be about 3.8% below, and I'm at that 4.92 above.
So we're good. We're within 10%. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, you know, we can move on in the agenda unless someone has major heartburn. You know, Lumen, let's just, this is a workshop, not a meeting, but if we could just kind of get a sense of, you know, where does that put Lumen? Where does that land you? 1,400? About 1,400? That's, I mean, that's, okay. Okay, Stephen, could you support this? Okay, and so there's those 3 votes on the commission. School board members. Yeah. You were, okay, let's take a look. You were right where you were. You took the section and you gave it back to 2 to get your numbers where you needed. Balin over, looks like to 9th. To get your numbers. So what you're looking at, all the red is your new district. And actually, could we pan back so he could see what his district, the proposed district would look like? Because obviously, yeah, District 3, obviously, Lumen, this incorporates that swap that gave you a significant number of a swing. And it incorporates me taking, 101, which took a lot of the white voters from the wedge. It kind of puts you a little more compact. I think so too. Yeah.
Just adjusting it so it can zoom in a little bit closer and capture the whole map.
And while they're doing these calculations, I will let folks know we are going to have public comment. We've got 4 speakers. Oh yeah, and I'm going to do that for sure. As soon as we're done getting this all done, we'll have the speakers speak. As soon as we. Okay, so there's 3. I'd like to ask my counterparts on the school board, is this something that you guys?
I'm good. Ms. Hightower? Mr. Fetzko? Thank you.
Okay, I think I see 3 votes on the school board. So, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we're pretty close to a draft that we can move forward with.
No, Jeff, hold on. Go to Stafford. Where's Mayfair? What precinct is Mayfair?
102.
No, it's 104. 104, and that's in your district. That's an add to your district from district.
Let's look at those numbers in 104.
They're good numbers for you, but we can certainly.
Yeah, but it's
Okay,
yeah. I mean, I get that. That's.
You put them in a dummy district so we can look at. But we can't see that. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's a minority district. 13. You got to keep that one, Lumen, if you want the numbers.
What if you split that precinct up, David, and show me? I think yesterday, Chris, we split it up a little bit.
How about any particular place you want to start
Just halfway
splitting?
through. Yeah, halfway through.
Sorry?
Just halfway through it. I think we split it up yesterday when we were in there. Maybe the same line.
Yeah, let's see what this does.
Any other? Put it in the dummy.
867, 758.
That may be more like it, Jeff. I mean, even if I got to reduce to 1441, that close to Fairfield. That's just there. If you're looking for a consensus to vote, I'm not going to take all of Mayfair.
Okay, fair enough. So you tell me.
It's
You
too
tell me
much.
which portion you want to give back to District
I mean, we could leave. I mean, whatever's closer to Fairfield to Sunrise, and whatever closer to District 3, I'll take it and split it in half. I mean, there's just,
Okay, so
there's-
the portion you've hatched right now that he's hatched?
yeah, I
you're
mean,
good
so
with
that's
that?
only, 867 to 758. I mean, we could take that. but
Okay,
I-
so-
I can't absorb that, I can't absorb that entire area.
Okay, so let's assign that. Let's assign that to Commissioner May, and then the other portion, I assume naturally would go back to District 2, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, let's see what those numbers do. I mean, look, this is the time to do it. And I assume, that was all part of District 2 before, so I would assume there's, hopefully that Mr. Fetzko and Commissioner Underhill will be all right with keeping it.
What's his Mayfair and a CRA?
Yes.
It is.
So is that the part you want to leave behind, right there?
Hold on.
From a school district perspective, that part is closer aligned to District 3 because those students attend Oak Crest. The part that you had highlighted previously, those students were assigned to Sherwood.
Sherwood, okay.
So
That might make sense. Can we go back and see those numbers again? The Sherwood kids? And Dr. Fesco, that may make sense. We do a lot of work in District 3 at Oak Crest, so that makes a lot of sense for what we do at Oak Crest.
Chris, you've gone too far east with that,
You said-
that portion back up, yeah. That's still.
What's the dividing
If-
line,
if-
Paul?
There's not really a dividing line. It's going to be, if you split it, you're pretty close to what it needs to be at this point.
Right where it's at?
Well, just try that and see what it.
Go back to the original, what we did the very first time.
Appreciate your patience, David and Chris. Thank you. All right, so that was it, right there. Lumen, this part that you've crosshatched, you'd be keeping that or leaving that? Leaving that behind, okay. It would? Okay, then, yeah.
So what I'll do is pick up the Oak Crest part, the 430 and 594, and we leave behind the 867 and 758.
Okay, you got to speak in the microphone. Yeah, no, you're all right. So what we're crosshatched here, that's going to.
So we'd leave this behind, and we would pick up the 430 and the 594.
Okay, let's make that change and let's look at what it does to the map. Okay, and then, okay, so where are we at? 62.6, 62.8, 67.5, 61.9. Boy, that actually puts 2 pretty high, 66. Lumen, you're good with that?
Sorry, excuse me, it puts the cushion to, 15, 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's better than the 1441.
Yeah, I like it.
Yep. All right.
All right.
That's a compromise.
Okay, Mr. Fetzko?
Again, any of the lines that you draw tonight don't really change where students attend school. it will be a disruption to that community. Mayfair is very strong, very united. There's a section, it's almost like the pyramid, and there's not roads that clearly do it. The section that you took back, went back, are those students who will go to Oak Crest. That other section, the triangle part, would be most likely assigned to Montclair. That's the proximity, because Mayfair runs over into the Hollywood Boulevard area, and that would go up there. So it is not going to change anything we do in the schools. But I've attended every one of the neighborhood watch meetings in the Mayfair subdivision since I first ran, and I continue to go. That community is very strong, very supportive of the schools, both Oak Crest and Sherwood. Every year, they take every bit of money that they could raise and donate it to the schools. And it's just my perspective. I feel like Mayfair's getting kicked to the curb, and they don't deserve it. They're very good, very loyal, very sincere people, but the numbers have to work out. I understand that, and I go with that, but I do need to say, those are great people.
Well, Dr. Fesco, I don't know if you're insinuating that there are any bad people. I work with more kids in Mayfair than anybody on this dais, and my discretionary money out of District 3 went to supplement capital outlay projects that I would have expected the school district to fund, and the tennis courts at Oak Crest. And I'm telling you, we've raised, at Oak Crest, we've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars outside of government money to assist with all the programs at Oak Crest and Evanwood, which we have a great relationships. And I can tell you, we have single-handedly, with the help of Commissioner Berry, on the private side, raise more money for Oak Crest, I guarantee you, than anybody in this town. So we have a deep commitment to the children at Oak Crest.
I agree with you, sir. I know that. I recognize that. You've always been a strong supporter of education, and you continue to be. I'm not taking that away from anything. I'm speaking only to that community. Right. That's just me.
And I understand, but I wanted to be very clear when we're splitting that district and trying to get these numbers, that our commitment to Mayfair, that I'm out there on New Mexico every day. I have kids. So our summer youth program probably had about 16 kids that work there. Right. I pick kids up in Mayfair probably 3 times a week, and we've donated a lot of money to Oak Crest Elementary School.
Right.
Commissioner Underhill, you recognized?
Thank you. I want to, recognizing everything that Commissioner May just said, I want to kick the podium on what Mr. Fesco just said. This community is striving. This community is working harder than any other community I can think of. They've cleaned up their park. They've got their street lights. They are a very active neighborhood watch. And I say they did it because they did. It was very citizen driven. And Commissioner May, as many times as we've talked about what a horrible impact dividing a neighborhood had on Brownsville, obviously you've got 3 votes on this board to do whatever you want, but I would beg that you really seriously reconsider the impact that would have on a neighborhood that I know you care very deeply about.
And thank you. In response to that, Commissioner Underhill, I'm trying to get to the numbers that bring about equality. You and I have worked tirelessly together in Brownsville, and I've been an advocate for it. We've worked together tirelessly on Forest Creek. Unfortunately, District 3 gets plagued many times with underserved neighborhoods, but my commitment hadn't been to District 3. It's been to underserved neighborhoods, just as yours has been, and it's going to continue to do that. And so, as you often say, it's an example of how people from political differences or different walks of life can work together to improve a neighborhood. And quite frankly, sometimes the burden is too much for one individual to shoulder. So when you certainly have 2 people of leadership paying attention to a neighborhood, they tend to get more than they get if it's just one person.
Thank you, Commissioner May. Well, again, we're going to do a little quick straw vote. Commissioner May, you've made these changes. I assume you're feeling a little bit better about the map now than before. You're good to go with this? Commissioner Berry? All right, there's 3 votes right there. You got anything, Commissioner Underhill? Anything to say? No? Okay. All right, school board members?
I certainly could not support the map as we've drawn it tonight.
I understand that. School board members? Patty?
As long as our numbers are I think we're still where we are, okay.
Okay. And Board Member Slayton? You good? Dr. Edler? Yes, ma'am, please. You're recognized. Yeah, just press that button. There we go. Yeah, there you go. You're good.
I do support Mr. May. We've had conversations, and we've talked about what's important to both of us. But I do want to say about Mayfair that I would have a commitment to Mayfair. As a teenager, I had to move off the land for them to build Mayfair. So I'm very familiar with all three of those subdivisions out there. And I don't believe that anyone in here would not be favorable to provide resources to help the parents and to maintain that community.
I absolutely agree with you. Well, seeing that we, just basic straw vote here, we've got a map that, look, again, no one's going to agree with this 100%. We got thrown into this mix with data that came late, with COVID, with inability to do our town halls. We needed 6 or 7 months, but I think we got a map that works. We got a map that works. So yes, Mr. Fetzko, you're recognized.
These last changes puts District 2 at 66,000 when we're supposed to be at 64.
Yeah, well, you're within tolerances. You can go up to 66.6. So you're gonna have a large district. Congratulations. Yeah, and David, can you please save this as the final? Yeah, and we're going to need it because I'm going to add this also. Wes, let's add this to Thursday's agenda, please. Robert, I'm sorry I did not hear from you. I think you're good with what we've done, right? Are you there?
Yeah, just before you save it though, it looks like that one portion of the road is still red. I would probably try to make that change.
Oh yeah,
before you save it.
Oh yeah, right here. Is there any people there? Or is that just a border? That's
It
just a
doesn't look like
boundary.
it, or maybe just, or is that just the way the road looks when you zoom out?
It's not, yeah, it's.
Okay, yeah, that's just a highway. Thank you, Robert. Okay, so
Perfect.
without objection, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to move forward on the agenda to our public forum. This will be saved as our final from the committee. Yes, Allison, you're recognized. What would you like to say as we're trying to finish this up?
Yep, just for the county commissioners, what you'll see is that we'll be turning this map over to your GIS department to draw up the actual legal descriptions and the maps, because that's what we're going to be obligated to advertise. And
Right
on
on.
Thursday at your board meeting, you'll be scheduling the public hearing for the adoption for December 2nd
December
board
2nd.
meeting. And we'll be advertising the maps with the legal descriptions twice
Okay.
on 2 consecutive weeks between now and December the 2nd. So-
And we'll be advertising in the Sun Press.
Yes, sir.
Bang.
That's
Okay,
the hope.
all right. Are we ready to go to public? Yes, Board Member Adams, please, you're recognized.
Ellen, everything all right for you for what we need?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, rock and roll. Charles Krupnik. And I assume you filled out a speaker form? Did you fill out a speaker form? Didn't have them? Okay, all right, good enough. We know who you are. You're recognized. 3 minutes.
Yes, Charles Krupnik, 14500 River Road, Pensacola, and president of the Perdido Key Association, PKA. First of all, we appreciate the difficult work that you're doing. This is not easy. I believe there are good reasons to keep Perdido Key in District 2, and it's pretty disappointing that it hadn't been at least discussed in a very open way. Several important projects have been implemented in the past several years while in District 2, with support from all Escambia County Commissioners and the county staff. These include approval of the Pensacola Pass Inlet Management Plan to reduce beach erosion on Perdido Key beaches, implementation of the Perdido Key Master Plan, current instruction of the Perdido Key multi-use path, plus traffic safety improvements such as enhanced crosswalks on Perdido Key Drive, new traffic light and crosswalk at the Floribama, and likely construction of a roundabout to improve traffic safety at the Perdido Key Johnson Beach Road intersection. If Perdido Key becomes part of District 1, I'm concerned that Perdido Key issues would be well down on the list of priorities. District 1 has had remarkable growth in recent years, particularly in the Beulah area, highlighted by the Navy Federal Credit Union campus, extensive subdivisions, and apartment construction. plus road widening and other infrastructure projects like the I-10 Beulah Road interchange. Development plans for the 630 acres of OLF 8 are moving forward and will lead to important additional growth in District 1 and Escambia County as a whole, but will and should be a high priority for that district. PKA is working to keep Perdido Key a viable and improving beach community, and our island still needs further attention. We look forward to a town center, as promised by the master plan, and more reasoned development along Perdido Key Drive and at the Lost Key Resort. We're sometimes envious of adjacent Orange Beach, Alabama, though not for its traffic and burgeoning development, but with its underground utilities, security by a dedicated police force, and regulated beachfront parking, items I'm sure many Perdido Key owners and residents and visitors would welcome. Perdido Key's future, as with other desirable locations, to a large extent is dependent on its developers, its major developers, and on the individuals who will serve as District 1, District 2, and other county commission positions. But we hope some of the issues I've mentioned can become priorities and realities in whatever district we are in, though I think more likely in District 2. We want to be recognized as a beach community with significant needs and not just a beachfront recreation area. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Krupnick. Next speaker this evening, Mac Dean. Mac Dean? Oh, I'm sorry. It looked like a C. My apologies. May Dean. Good evening. Welcome, and you're recognized.
Yes, May Dean, 13396 Gongora Drive. And thank you to the board and the school board for your meeting tonight. And I'm sorry, I don't want to get emotional, but this is probably one of the saddest meetings I've been to. And I've been on the board of PKA and a past president since Hurricane Ivan. To split up District 2 is heartbreaking to me. We have nothing in common with Beulah, and our greatest assets in Escambia County is its waterfront. And we feel that our beaches, bays, and intercoastal waterways need to be represented by one continuous district on the southwest side. And we need to have a representative who lives close to our beaches and our waterways so that they understand our concerns. And to divide us up and to have us compete with Beulah for resources isn't fair. And we did this 20 years ago. I lived on Perdido Key back then when it was Commissioner Whitehead. And it was a disaster, and we changed, and that's why we redistricted and got away from District 1. And so this is a very disturbing meeting today, that we have not had our input, we have not had our workshops, we have not been able to bring enough people here to change your mind, and you've already made up your mind, you've counted your votes, and really it doesn't matter what we say. And that's very, very sad to me. I'm a lifelong resident, 35 years on Perdido Key, and this was sad. I'm sorry. Good night.
Good night. Thank you, Ms. Dean. Next up is Melissa Pino.
Thank you, Chairman Burgash. Melissa Pino, 413 Southeast Boblets. I just wanted to echo and underline some of the things that I said at the last meeting concerning District 2. And Mr. Fetzko, I was so sorry when I watched the video that I mispronounced your name. Old speech impediment coming out on the S. You know that I know that you have an S in your name, so I was sorry about that. And I wanted to thank you for being the one person, apparently, who sits this day as who understands the West Side. I had no idea you were coming out with an alternate map, and I looked at it and I thought, that's exactly what I was talking about. We have been so starved and neglected of attention on the West Side. And I'm sorry that I'm once again at odds with Mr. Krupnick. At least we do agree on one thing now, and that's the need for more beach access. But with all due respect to May Dean, Perdido Key has nothing in common with Warrington either. And it has increasingly had less and less in common as all of the resources to District 2 have been taken down to Perdido Key. So at least that problem is going to get solved. I'm disappointed that some of the cohesiveness of District 2 got changed off of Mr. Fetzko's map, and we lost the fairgrounds with, his idea. I thought that belonged to District 2. What really disappointed me was the idea of Commissioner May dropping down to the water, not solving some of this problem of the juggernaut of development that is heading across that waterway emanating from the city. And I hate to leave the idea of that under one commissioner who then could choose to allocate the $1 million of LOST discretionary downtown. And now all of a sudden the D2 commissioner might actually be the commissioner of that area down there, because for the last 7 years, that hasn't even been part of D2. People call the D2 office and they get told, you're in the city, go talk to the city. I'm scared to death that whatever happens with the election, we're going to get a commissioner that all of a sudden decides that that's his commission, and that's where our $1 million of LOST discretionary is going to go while the west side continues to fester. So I do agree with Maydeen that it is a little disconcerting. I do want to say I understand the time barriers you guys are under. This is incredibly difficult, so I get it, and there's that sense that, okay, we got something that will work, we can do our advertisements, et cetera. And I don't even know if it works for Commissioner May's district, but having that stretch that is getting ready to explode with development, money, potential drainage problems as well, so there are going to be some negatives, let's have 3 county commissioners involved in that area downtown,
Ms.
if
Pino,
it does perhaps work out for Commissioner May. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Final speaker of the evening, Larry Downs Jr. Welcome, and you are recognized.
Hello. I don't have anybody to hold my camera here, so I'll just set it right. All right, Larry Downs Jr. Hey, this is almost, there's a emoji where it looks like your head's going to explode and it comes out like that. That's what I feel like.
Us too.
Holy cow. I ain't never seen so much jockeying for position. It's like we're at an auction. 100 vote one. Can I get 200 votes? It's amazing. Black, white, male, female. None of these elected politicians here, that's what I call all of y'all. None of y'all should have any district line designated because you're in that position because you're a female, or because you're a male, or because you're neutral gender. I ain't even heard nothing about the neutral gender people. I ain't heard nothing about Hispanics here. Nothing. Just black, white. More diversion, more division. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. This is our whole country is this. D3 is correct on Democrats becoming Republicans. He's correct on that. I mean, anytime that like Mr. Berry said, anytime that high-speed internet is a human right, I'd say that's pretty far from a Republican, a conservative. We're in trouble. We're in trouble deep across this whole country, shipping containers sitting out on the ocean, and all we're going to talk about here is making sure somebody has a street light. We're neglected here. We're neglected there. It's just sad. And I wanted y'all to know that almost every single one of y'all have neglected the CDC guidelines tonight. Touching your faces. It's on this camera right here. You're touching your faces. And I'm proud y'all, none of y'all have a mask on that whole dais. That is a beautiful thing. Beautiful. Yep, that Perel, that's what we are. We're a nation of division, a nation of hand sanitizer. This is sad and weak. It's sad and weak. We're teaching children to put masks on, to carry around on a little chain, some Perel. Y'all kidding me? Y'all got to think about this. Jesus. I watch it go every year. Adios. Oh, rest of y'all, that's the reason why there's nobody here, because they know nobody listens.
Thank you, Mr. Downs. That's the final speaker I have listed. Is there anyone here to speak this evening before I adjourn this meeting? Anyone? Okay, before we adjourn the meeting, I'd like to again thank my counterparts, and I want to offer any of my counterparts an opportunity for any words before we adjourn. Mr. Slayton?
Commissioner Bergosh, hold on.
I do want to thank everybody, thank the hospitality, thank the, both groups. And whether people want to believe it or not, this is democracy working correctly. And so we appreciate that. Also, Mr. Bender, it's good to see you. If I hear the ball game on at your house right now, I'm going to be very disappointed, but you could tell us the score.
Yeah, what's the score?
And remind the school board, we have a meeting at 5:01 tomorrow afternoon.
5:01 tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Slayton. Commissioner Bender, you're recognized.
Yeah, thank you. So as we were going to public speakers, I noticed that the front desk was highlighting an area we thought we might go back to. So I just wanted to, and I'm sorry to go back on this, but I didn't see it until we were cutting to public forum. But there was that small portion that the eastern part of D2 right at the city limit. Did we want to still look at that?
No, I don't think we need to look at anything. I think we finalized and we got 3 votes. I think we're good to go.
Sure, I understand. It's just cleaning up that little part of this, of the unincorporated part of the.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Bender.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Jeff.
All right. Any other comments? Thank you all for your participation. We're adjourned.